sends it out to the entire board. They fill it out, they turn it back in to the chairman. Management and Chris, and goes over the evaluation. And I think you'll get. And I'm gonna send it and do it on both parts. And lay it out in 60 days, whatever it takes. And it worked really well.
A little bit, I just broke the last time, or 10 minutes.
Yeah. So I just want to. And it's won't be just a conversation like we had last time. It's physically written and everybody here. But you know about fine, and then we go.
Channel navigate.
Yep. Once they fill them out, they turn them back into myself. Usually I'll have my pencil up here just to be complete, so it's not just me. And then they get sent to the entire board to look at everybody's evaluations. Then you set up a time for Chris to go through the evaluations. And then you bring your feedback from Chris back to the board and say, okay, this is what we talked about based on all of y'all's stuff. And here's what we can do. 30, 60, whatever the case is. And it serves very well. I will tell you. Good habits.
I'm testing myself. Is that working, Dan?
Excuse me.
Yes.
I wanted to make it. I need to see.
No, when she calls for audience comments, you can just raise your hand, but typically for the future, there is a form on the website. You can click it and submit it that way. Absolutely. But it's just because you didn't do that, it's not going to prohibit you from speaking. Okay, sure.
That's.
Oh, then we'll definitely. Oh, don't move abruptly or you might end up.
Sometimes.
I don't know. I want to speak.
Thank you.
The more comments, the better, right?
Yeah.
With what's your name, Jay?
You guys want to share? You don't like to hear it, so maybe you want to share. Maybe.
You get it.
Okay. Oh, nice to you join us, David. Great to see you. Actually, more of those.
And
Hello, Ms. Castle. And just to finish up our conversation, I did talk to several legal counsel versus facilities. There's no difference. You call it whatever you want. It's not designated. So I just want to make sure I answered your email more so than what I did because I was driving at the time. I couldn't get into it.
Sorry, I went past you.
Yeah, that's right.
These people going 50 miles an hour.
Brett was in the car with me and look, we're driving, looking at different stuff and I'm like, is that Harold driving my butt? And Brett, lady, so I put my hand out and I'm like, and then she goes by and I'm trying to look to get her attention. And she's just like, Brett's like, she's got to get somewhere. Funny. Funny stuff. This.
testing. Is that me again? No, you've got to take care of me.
Do you have my good pen?
You are good.
Yeah.
Don't lie. Oh, my good.
Joe. Joe what? Joe. Joe what?
Hey, Good evening, everyone.
Deborah Bear, that's my husband.
Welcome to the Harmony CDD. It's March regular meeting. We appreciate all of you coming out, for those here in the room and those on Zoom. Who do we have on Zoom tonight, Dan?
Looks like 2 people right now, maybe, yeah, 2.
Okay, great. All righty. First item on the agenda is our roll call. Supervisor Lee,
Here.
Supervisor Phillips,
Here.
Supervisor Castle, Supervisor Chicanis. Sion,
You too?
not yet. Okay, and Supervisor Kramer is present. All right. The next item on our agenda is audience comments. And this is a chance for anyone from the audience to provide up to 3 minutes of comments to the board. It's not a back and forth. It's strictly a presentation to the board of your comments, concerns, or ideas. So we'll now open that up. Anyone here in the audience? Deborah?
Deborah Bear.
Can you come up so please, Deborah, so
Yes.
that the microphone can.
Deborah Bear, 6838 Butterfly Drive. Just information, a few times I've called the non-emergency number regarding dual 18-wheelers being parked on the streets in Harmony. I know those are county roads. One time the officer came and he knew the rules, he wrote the citation, I guess. The other time, the second time, the officer called me and wanted to ask me what should he do about it? So I explained to him what the county code was. He said, let me look that up. And he did look it up. He said, you learn something new every day. He says, thank you for that information. He said, one thing that would help maybe is if our development could put up signs stating this issue that no dual wheel vehicles can be parked there. My question is, I don't know, as a public citizen, do I have the right to call the county and say to put a sign up on CDD property? That's all I'm looking for.
Was it 18
Because there's, it's 18-wheelers and boats and trailer stuff. Those are
coming through the neighborhood?
Well, parking.
Oh, parking.
Parking.
And what about buses? Do they, or
Yeah, buses are.
Yeah.
Anything
So,
with dual wheels.
we
and
do have no soliciting signs in the community. I'm wondering if we can add an additional sign to the signpost just to cite.
But the officer felt that it would make their job easier, because I talked to him about the inconsistency of the different police officers.
Okay,
And he said that may be the reason. He said, first of all, not everyone who calls is into the non-emergency ask to be called back. So what happens, he said, his fellow colleagues may come out, and not know the code, so they don't see anything wrong, they leave.
If they see signs, it does make them easier.
Yes,
to-
that's what they say, so.
and if we
asking
put
him-
a small sign that has the statutory or the code site,
Yeah, not a small sign, a large sign.
well,
Well, if we put something out there when people enter, like the no soliciting sign, they're forewarned. And maybe if they see it, they'll not even try.
So would you like those signs placed on the existing signs?
I think so.
they
I
should
mean,
be excellent.
it makes sense to. We don't need
Okay.
an additional sign if we can get it on the post.
Okay, we'll cite the code, we'll get them going.
All right, any other audience comments? Yes, sir. Your name and address for the record?
Mike Taylor, 6838 Butterfly Drive as well. I would like to commend Benchmark for the excellent job they've been doing on Linear Park on Butterfly Road. The trees have been trimmed, the hedges have been cleaned out, the grass is mowed on a timely basis. You guys are doing awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So many compliments.
Do we have any other audience comments? Yes, sir. Name and address for the record.
Joe Janizek, 7159 Oak Glen Trail.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I too, you guys are doing a better job, great job, really. I see you guys out there and they blow, they sweep, they stop cutting when people drive by. Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Couple things. One thing, I don't know if you guys are taking care of it, wherever, sprinklers are still running in the middle of the day. I know they're not supposed to according to law.
It's,
So,
they're going through a.
yeah, I get that, but I'm just saying it's still happening. I still see it.
They can turn them on during the day to test them.
No, this is the island inside Harmony by my address. Every Wednesday, it comes on 4 times, twice during the day, once early in the morning, once at night. Same thing on the Saturday. It's on the right days, just I think somebody has the AM PM flipped. Splash pad, I mean, it's like 6 months, 7 months. What's going on with the splash pad? It's not even on the agenda.
There'll be
Here a
update.
little bit in a moment.
We'll have an update during field manager report.
Okay. Are you, I hope you gotta spend some time on last year's budget report. If I read it right, you went about 1.4 million over budget last year.
No,
No.
Really? I meant to bring my computer, but I forgot it.
yeah.
You can reach out to any of us to discuss.
And then the last item, which I'm sure you're all aware of to some degree, the RV lot. I mean, it seems like there's a big discrepancy between what the board has been presenting the last few months and what, I guess, what's his name, Mr. Meek and the county wrote 2 weeks ago. I was just wondering if there's any chance of revisiting that and maybe looking into seeing how much that would cost or do. There's an open invitation to the board to meet with the county and some residents to go over what's necessary. I mean, I'm willing to meet with somebody.
I'm happy to meet with you if you like.
And I can speak to that briefly, do you have anything else you want to add?
That was it.
Okay, yeah. Again,
Under supervisor's request, maybe?
Yes,
Yeah.
Yes. it's
We'll
gonna be
deal with
brought
it
up
later in the
supervisor
meeting.
request.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any further audience comments? All right, anyone from the Zoom call? Okay,
Thank you.
A couple more join, but yeah, if you want to get in on the Zoom.
No hands raised.
all right, hearing none, we will close the audience comment portion of our meeting. The next item on our agenda is our contractors report, and this would be Benchmark.
Hello, good afternoon. I'm Justin with Benchmark. I'm a teammate of Jacob Moots. He's been with you guys already. His assistant, right-hand man, teammate, whatever you want to call him. Our production manager, Nick, is who's on site daily while we're here servicing the property. He's here to watch over the property for us, for you guys, to make sure things are going well, as you said, sort of a compliment. So that's what we want to be able to give you guys in here. So we're here, just want to introduce ourselves. There's multiple teammates, Jacob, Tom, me, Mike, Jason, Cal. There's a whole bunch of us that are involved in this to try and keep this property looking good. As you know, it's a large property. This is our on-site production manager. We just wanted to come out here, one, for the contractor report, but two, also to introduce ourselves with a couple more teammates. Nick?
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to go over what we've been cleaning up this month. So it's been really dry, so what we like to do is really take advantage of that. Because in the summertime, the CDD land, it's gonna be flooded. And at that time, we're gonna be, maintaining the boulevard and what we can do, in that area. So that's why we're back in there, and if you'll notice, the ponds are getting cleaned up. They're all getting, the fence lines and the palm trees on, on the main boulevard as well. So while it's dry, we're still doing a lot of our detail. And as far as the irrigation is concerned, we are moving along with that. The first page of those repairs needed is all but been met. And the remainder of what's left over is still on that budget. They're tracking the lines. As we make one repair, another one will pop up as the water goes. So as they're doing that, they're finding more down the electrical with us, cut wires. We're repairing those as well. But as of April 1st, we do have the zones for the flowers. We can email you the availability of the selection. So we can go ahead and move forward with that as those areas are ready.
That way we can get the seasonal flowers and get you guys some color, because things are trimmed up now. So now we can get some seasonal color, get this looking a lot better for you guys. So that's we'll provide that with some different specifics. And we also got to keep in mind too, some of the availability you might want. Oh, this is really good. We got to be conscientious of the deer too. We want to put something that's going to give you some longevity, look good, so it's not trimmed down after they've just been planted and the deer get a nice expensive salad. So
Yeah.
that's kind of where we're at. I did take a note, sir. Thank you for letting us know about the irrigation. We'll take a look into that and see if we can make some adjustments on that for you as well. That way we're watching over that stuff for you.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Any questions?
I haven't been there in maybe a week or so, I think, but I noticed that those areas that we looked at, Brett, on Catbrier on the park side. Oh,
We're there today.
were they?
Pictures.
Yeah. So a lot of cleanup needed on the golf course side of Catbrier.
Mhm.
Those leaves have been there for probably more than a year.
And we'll have to get not as big.
And
Right,
then-
so I went over there and we had picked them all up. The problem is, and there's a picture, there's a line. Once we come in there, we'll pick up some, 2 days later, run another section. Those homes, they're blowing them over there.
Yeah, it's not, I mean, the leaves that I saw clearly
Oh,
were
it was-
embedded in the grass.
So we, aerated it, and we got all those out today, up to the, like he said, the gazebo, and we're gonna continue moving forward Monday into Tuesday
Great.
on that section.
And that'll continue on to middle of April. We're still mowing every other week. On the week we're not mowing, we're trying to address the leaves and kind of get that tidied up.
Great.
before-
The other area is the playgrounds near the dog park. Those areas, the number of oak trees have really dropped a lot, and those leaves have been sitting there for a couple months now. Since the hurricane is when it started.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay, and yeah, the only thing I was gonna add, with, when you're getting those, wetland areas, an issue we had before was, we have those, there's a number of signs that were put in, marking where the conservation area was, and over time, that was, they weren't cut all the way back to the signs, and as, time passes, they grew further out, so, we can definitely, if you're able to, be clearing all the way back to those signs.
Yeah, so we've been reclaiming a lot of land, so to speak, and once we approach that time, we'll put like, a chemical around it, so that way it's visible.
Yep.
And they're not being destroyed, so when it does flood and we can't mow it, when it does,
Receive back.
we can see the sign, see
Yep.
the line, where we gotta go. So, yeah.
All right, thank you.
The only other thing is the proposal.
Yes. Any other questions from the board for Benchmark? The only other thing on here would be the proposal. There's a fire ant treatment proposal, and it's for 10 acres. Is there a specific area you're going to treat, or will that 10-acre application take care of most of the walkway around the long pond and the recreation area and things like that?
So, exactly right, we would prioritize the areas, so the center square, the parks. And then as we get to the end of the acres, we would evaluate, what was left land-wise that needed to be done.
Mhm.
Hit the high traffic areas first.
So
and
the
then
parks,
Okay.
where, like you said, high traffic.
So there's no provision in the contract for ant treatments?
Yeah, so fire ant treatment is spot treatment, right? The top choice is it puts a barrier down for longer controls, like it's not a bad idea in dog parks, only downside to it, or playground areas, only downside to it is once that barrier is disturbed, so like a dog dating. Kind of loses that, the top choice gives you a 1-year control, it's fair manufacturer, fair. Agri-sciences puts, put this. Active ingredients, fipronil, it's just a more long-term solution on high traffic areas, again, dog parks, playgrounds, around the pool. Just a thought, don't have to do it, it's still spot treat, but again, when you spot treat an ant town, you're killing the queen. The rest of the colony then moves to the next queen, so you're really just chasing colonies as you go and spot treat.
So is this more like a baited?
Top choice is more of a long-term solution to an ant problem in high traffic areas versus spot treating. So when you apply it, it
So
doesn't
it's
get
a-
watered in, it kind of creates a barrier. It does create a barrier.
All righty, any other questions about this proposal for Benchmark?
Are we having a significant fire ant problem?
Yes.
Brett and I walked just a small fraction today, and yeah, they were everywhere.
With the warm weather and the dry weather, and its dormancy is over, so they're getting very energetic, we'll say.
Yeah, we've blown sections, and 2 days later, the mountains are popping up. It's as if we weren't there, and it was just across the street on that.
And
But
in our budget, do we have this as a line item?
No.
So this is gonna come out of sort of, it's gonna come
Your
out of,
other,
a sort of miscellaneous or refurbishment or,
you come out of other landscaping, there's several lines we
Yeah.
could take it out of your budget, and you'll be fine.
it's, the only thing is that we had discussed refurbishing some areas, so this money is gonna come out of that
Mhm.
budget item. Is anybody can move?
Move to approve the proposal for fire ant treatment for a total not to exceed $46.50.
Okay, I have a motion. I hear a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? None. Passes unanimously. Okay, there is one other item that I'd like to move up to take care of while Benchmark is here. And that is the donation of the, I'm sorry,
Amaryllis bulbs.
amaryllis bulbs.
And there are some lily bulbs that are also being offered as well.
Okay.
I tried to make an appointment with the woman who has the amaryllis bulbs to go over some areas that she thought could be good for the placement of those. It turns out they both of these species have, are mildly poisonous. So I think at the entrances is where she was talking about. I will get with her soon, and she's a bit under the weather. I'd hoped to get with her Friday so that we'd be prepared today, but she was not well enough to get together. So I'm gonna get together with her and look at a couple of areas near the entrances where people aren't really going to be walking much,
Mhm.
right? So that it's a safer place to install those bulbs.
Okay, so you want to bring this back next? meeting?
Yes, table it for next meeting.
We'll take care of that at the next meeting, so. I think that'll do it for us.
Thank you guys so much. for your
Thank
time.
you so much.
Thank you.
Back.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you guys. Thanks again for your opportunity.
Yeah, and the Billy's Trail, I heard some good things. I assume you guys did the CDD property on Billy's Trail. It looks
We
really
were
good.
over there today. We were chipping that away again. When we get a few minutes at the end of each day, we'll revisit projects we got going on and that is.
Thank you.
Thank
so
you.
much.
Awesome. Thank you guys very much. Appreciate your time.
Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Wonderful to meet you.
All right, the next item on the agenda is our consent agenda. This includes the meetings of both our workshop on February 7th and our regular meeting of February 23rd. Those minutes have been amended and it would be as presented in the agenda package.
So I was unable, I had a death in the family and I was unable to complete the minutes for February, and I sent them. But were not reflected in what was sent out. So when I checked them, I mean, I
Okay.
haven't checked the minutes in the revised agenda, but it didn't show that they had been amended as per what I had sent
And let's,
last
yeah.
week.
Yeah, the
And
ones
that's
I have are amended with yours and Mrs. Kramer's. Those are the only two that
The
sent in.
workshop ones.
Both, the ones that I have. I'll look and see if they made it into there, but I have your revisions and Mrs. Kramer's that are incorporated to the finals.
Yeah, but they weren't presented to the board for approval yet. So do we need to table the February minutes for approval until March? Until April?
I'm comfortable adopting. My understanding, it was mostly grammatical, it wasn't substantial changes.
Yeah.
So if the board is comfortable adopting those,
Adopting the ones that I sent.
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
the ones with multiple.
Both pages.
Okay. So the consent agenda would cover that, the financial statement from February 2023. And the number 274, February 2023 invoices and check registry. Does any of the board members have any questions or comments about any of these?
I do before you approve them. So there is a legal bill.
Two legal bills.
Correct. One was the one I'm discussing is, there was an overpayment. So the bills got crossed and we had a call with legal to discuss this. The bills got crossed with their accounting department and ours. We paid a $12,000 bill and a $13,000. We are getting the refund back of the $13,000. So I just want to make sure, and that'll be reflected in your next month's. But accounting is looking for that deposit to come in, and then they'll confirm it, and I can send that out to the board.
But these financials only reflect through, I think, January, if I'm not mistaken, is what the financial said, right? So it's not even reflecting that payment probably.
Should be February. But anyways, that's coming, and I just
Right.
want to make sure that you're aware of it.
Yeah,
It
that
has
should
been
be
brought
through
up.
the end of February.
Yeah,
Move to approve.
Okay, I have a motion to approve with minutes as amended.
I'll second.
I have a second, all in favor?
You don't have any questions, I guess.
Oh, I'm sorry. Does anybody have any questions? All in favor?
I
All
will
opposed?
say there were a number of irrigation bills that were really very high. I'm not questioning the bills. I moved to approve because I want to approve it, the consent agenda, but I'm curious, so maybe I'll just ask during field services why those bills were so high compared to the months before. I know we're dry right now, but some of those were like 5 times as high as the previous bill.
Are you talking about Toho bills or irrigation?
Toho bills.
Toho, okay.
I mean, I think the total was $14,000 for 1 month.
Yeah.
And it's been extremely dry,
Yeah.
but
But
yeah, I
it's
think
still-
that may be that they're. I'm not sure.
I
what was
can't
happening
imagine
there,
that
but still-
testing would use that much water.
Well, that, they weren't even testing then, that was the February, that was the previous bill under developed, so. That was when we had no, so. But anyway, we'll continue to look back on that. So motion passes unanimously. We're now on new business. The first item under new business is considering of remodeling of Ashley Park Pool Office for our community maintenance. We have 3 proposals. One is Burby's for $9,300. This does not include paint, tile, or baseboard materials, however. We have a Mark Davis Construction at $27,100. It does include everything. Urban Solutions is $10,072.86. Also, no paint, tile, or baseboards is included in our materials. Brett, would you like to address this, or Jason?
Yeah, you should call it, get rid of them.
Okay, yep. So these are the 3 proposals that were gathered prior to Jason kind of getting his feet in the ground. We did reach back out to the 2 vendors, Burby's and
Urbans.
what? Urban,
Urbans?
yes. Urban sent over, we requested that if permitting was included. Burby's said yes. Urban said no, and they sent over a revised price for 13, and it came in. I got it from Jason today, so I think it came in like yesterday or today. So it's not in this agenda packet. But we're here to obviously answer any questions you have on them. We did meet, or Vincent did at the time, meet with each one of these vendors on site, showed them the area, went through it. Jay, do you have any follow-up on that from any of those vendors? Did they have any other questions?
No, I think they're ready to go. They should ask, everyone takes texting phone.
We did ask for references as well on Urban and Burby's, and we didn't get really anything back. So that's,
Is there a reason why no material was included in Urban and Burby's?
I don't
Versus-
know. Yeah, I don't.
Is included.
Burby's has material.
Burby's does have material. That's what I thought. I thought Urban was the only one
Yeah.
that didn't.
No, 3,800 is they have for material. They don't have any paint here. They don't have any tile here.
Yeah, they had not included paint, tile, or baseboard, I think.
It says paint the whole room and their
They
labor
will paint
costs.
it, but they don't have it in the materials.
And they don't even have a total for the,
Right.
for the amount. And their conditions are extremely,
We're talking about Burby's?
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not worried about the conditions. It would be under our contracts, so.
No, it's just, it just doesn't seem like a very professional proposal, that's all.
Let me back up for a minute and let's talk about the whole move if we can for a moment. Again, because of all the kerfuffle that has gone on about that area with the RV storage and everything, we now have received a notice of violation from code enforcement, and now we are under a time clock to get all this done and moved. So we're kind of in a pinch over the barrel, so to speak. The situation we've got, I spoke, because we've got 2 parts to our community, and I'd like us to try and talk about it as the community maintenance facility. because that's the verbiage the county uses for what we have. We call it a field services office. But if we call it by their verbiage, then we can stay on the right track. Again, this community maintenance facility is permitted in any of the PD classifications except for conservation area, which makes. So we can put it basically anywhere we have land, provided we work with the county on that, to go through a site development plan and meet all the requirements. We've talked about the offices, the Ashley Park pool area is perfect for an office. Once it's remodeled, it'll be comfortable for them to use. One thing that's not included in any of these proposals is an HVAC system, which we can use just a room size unit, not necessarily a window unit that would not look real good, but they do have room units that can be installed without a lot of work. So that can be added. But the other thing we're thinking is where all the storage for the vehicles, the actual facility itself, where all the tools, the vehicles and everything are kept.
Equipment, materials.
Right, we had discussed putting that in the U2 area, which is in between the townhomes and condominiums and the town square in that area. I did reach out to Amy Templeton with the county, and they said that they would be okay to use the U2 parcel, but only on a temporary basis until that particular area develops out, because that is designated as a utility / access parcel, and that carries with it specific designations under our PD. So they'd be okay with us using it temporarily, but we would eventually have to move it once that starts developing out. The other thing they would require is they would ask that we also get permission from the adjoining landowners to that parcel because of the previous easement language. Even though we've gotten that easement language addressed, and that easement has not been turned over to any other entities. In other words, it would take a lot of work with the county to get them to forego that provision. And still it would be temporary because of the U2, the utility access easement, access parcel designation. So the other option, which we've been discussing with the field staff, community maintenance staff, is down at the lakefront, just past where the old portable building used to be for the community school. That's actually down the slope a bit, down from the parking lot. There's a 25-foot by 45-foot slab there that we could then put a structure on that could do twofold. I was talking to our staff and they said that could potentially house both the office and the equipment and everything that everybody needs. That way it would put all the staff, including Jason, down in that location. It's closest to the boats, it's closest to all the area that needs the maximum maintenance from our community maintenance staff. And so we could do all that by getting one of the what do they call them?
Just an aluminum prefab building.
Right, and that it could be erected fairly quickly in that area and get all that moved in. It already has the water and the electricity and everything down there because it had it down there for the community school and it has all those spots down there. So I would open it up to the board. We could, in the very interim, they were mentioning that they would be okay, although it's not perfect.
They, the county?
Our staff could move a desk into the Ashley Park office space as it is right now without doing any of the renovations. That way we could show good faith with the county by getting that trailer out of there, that we're moving forward on complying with the code enforcement action. And that could be done, what, immediately? Brett?
Yeah, I mean, we could move computer, I mean, Jason could move there and we could redirect residents to that location for card access. We would be able to. Yeah, we have internet there, we'd have power, so cards could be made there, but. It's, the bigger question is, and we've talked about, is where does everything else go now? So. In terms of storage, so inside the trailer, Jason's already started cleaning out. Both or all three containers, the storage or the trailer area is starting to get cleaned up, and I'll let Jason give an update on that if you need it, but yeah, we could move Jason's physical office. I think there's enough counter space in there that I don't even know if we need to put a desk. I mean, we maybe put a stool in there or a chair, a high top chair, and you can work off of that if needed, and
And just to chime in, I know this is in my report, we received the code violation. And we were supposed to have everything done April 10th. I asked for an extension. They gave us till May 10th, but they are still going to come on April 10th, do an inspection to see what progress has been made, and then another inspection on the 10th. And it should be finalized by the 10th. We should be completely out of there, May 10th.
yeah, we'll
So-
want to make sure the trailer, we'll probably need to get. Our electrician out once we're fully ready to disconnect power. I need a plumber out to disconnect water and sanitary, so those would be
And
costs.
it needs
There's
to be-
no sanitary on the trail.
There's a pipe that goes to the. Well, we would need that disconnected,
We need that pump down,
yes,
closer.
well, that would get, we'd ask for that to be removed as well, but that's still, I'm just talking about cost to move out.
Right.
Of the trailer would be,
And what would we do about storage then?
Well, we'll leave the storage for the next month. And hopefully by then we'll be in the permitting process, the site development plan process with the county. On the other site at the lakefront. And that way, if we're showing again good faith that we're going through that process, they hopefully will give us a little more leeway, another month or so.
Yeah, and I can ask for another extension as long as we're showing progress.
Right, but what I'm asking is if we are gonna do something in terms of submitting something for permitting, we have to know what it is we're doing down at the lake in terms of not just
That's correct.
The-
That's why we're discussing it.
trailer, but also the storage. So what is that plan? Do we have a plan yet?
That would be putting in the building.
the aluminum prefab building,
Right, and then we would have to fence off a yard area around it and put in landscaping and meet all of the other code requirements.
And do we have an estimate of cost yet or
No, ma'am. That all kind of changed within the last,
what days?
Yes, I just got the report from Amy as to. Basically, it would only be temporary. Use there, this afternoon, about 4 hours ago, so.
So are we having the trailer re-rent that, the one that's out there now?
Mhm. That would go back.
There is no opportunity or chance to just move it over to the,
No,
okay.
you would want, the county would want a permanent structure.
Well, I meant just for
Yeah.
this month,
Temporarily.
just for the temporary.
off
Okay,
there.
that's what I meant.
I don't know that it-
I wouldn't suggest
Okay,
The only thing is,
I haven't seen it, so,
go down sometime.
I mean, I've seen it from the outside, but I've never.
Yeah.
been in.
I hesitate to send residents to a new place that's only temporary. And then,
Well, the location will be the same. It's just,
no, to
the
the Ashley
the
Park
pool,
pool.
yeah.
Well, I don't know that we have a choice at this
You
point. We've
don't.
got to show some significant, we were hoping we'd have more of a window, but
Does someone have an old van?
I mean, and it's gonna be temporary, so residents have to go there and pick up cars. Most of the time, the cars are delivered to them anyway, so
Right.
it's not like they're
Yeah.
having to physically go to the trailer
Right.
anyway.
I volunteered to deliver cards in the interim.
You offered to deliver a lot of things.
Well, I've got a golf cart.
Yeah. So that was very nice.
I like when my hair blows behind me.
So if we could. Do this at this point in time, if the board would give direction. To draw up some plans that would meet the county's requirements for a structure, for a community maintenance facility. Down on that existing slab, it's 45 by 25 foot slab at the lakefront, then we can move forward, getting an actual plan together, designing it out. And moving forward with that.
Well, I like that idea a whole lot better. I didn't like Ashley Pool. It was okay, but that's a neighborhood. We have trucks coming in and out, and there's, I don't know, they're trying in there to work, and if there's a birthday party going on with a bunch of kids screaming and stuff, So, I mean, it was gonna be okay, but it wasn't ideal, where the location over by the lakefront is, I think, kind of perfect.
Not according to the people who are there.
Yeah, somebody else's name. You put
Hold
other building.
on 1 second. Go ahead.
But. We'd still need to move into Ashley Park Pool Office temporarily,
Yes,
okay, to show progress and to get that moving. The location that's down below the parking area, it will not be extremely visible to other folks in the community. We will not leave it just a regular metal building. We will put a facade on it. And the back area will be fenced and obscured to view. The county will actually require that. And it would be in the area between the parking lot and the boat, so it's not right on that frontage and visible to everyone.
well, how much land do we have? This is really stretching or going off the rail here. But how much, do we have enough land there to also have storage lot?
No,
Okay.
I don't see putting an RV storage lot on our lakefront.
I remember the old trailer that was there, because I think the library used to come there and put on little programs for the kids. So if that's the same place that you're talking about.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's just a thought.
I'm fine with looking into it and finding out what the costs are and what the county would require.
So what I'd ask is a motion and a vote on temporarily moving as is into the Ashley Park office so that we could remove the staff trailer from its current location and then to move forward on planning a new full community maintenance facility on the lakefront parcel, which is VC10, I think is what we called it in the past.
Can I just ask when you're making this motion? So Carol's saying look into costs, but we're gonna, it needs to be definitive. Do you want us to go down that path? Because plans are gonna have to be drawn up. There's going to be expenses for this. It's not just gathering information and coming back and presenting you all, this is the cost for this, this is the cost for this. I mean, either are we going down that path to get site plan drawn up and all this stuff?
Well, if it was gonna cost us $20,000 to fix Ashley Pool. I mean, that's if we don't do that office, already we're ahead of the game. And at one time we had that one page with the building that when we were thinking of putting it on that other parcel over by there. And I think that was in the range of 40 to 50. So, I mean, it's another expense, but this should be our final time of having to do it, if I'm.
That is what, yes, what we're striving.
And do most communities have
Yes,
a community maintenance facility? I mean, it seems logical that we would have one.
you have to have one, and really, unless somebody can come up with another piece of land out there, there's no other option.
That isn't in the neighborhood.
Right, well,
Yeah.
okay, so my question was, when talking about the U2 area. The county saying that it was on a temporary basis, is that temporary relative to when, like, temporary until that parcel encompassing that area would be developed. So
Yes.
if we were to do that, we would be hitching our wagon to hopefully being able to work something out with that future developer to incorporate
That's
some.
the other side.
Right, well, and I mean, that seems
They're
like,
separate developers, yeah.
right, but if we were going that route, we would we'd be kind of putting our chips in that pile that we would be able to work something out. And I don't know if we had any kind of, leverage to be able to do that versus if they tell us to kick rocks, then we're gonna have to be having the same conversation, in a year or
This
two.
is your most permanent solution, this one. The rest would all be temporary based on A, B, C, D. It would
Right,
depend.
there'd be a lot of conditions that would have to work out for us to be able to have something permanently in that kind of front U2 area.
Correct.
May I ask one more question? And I've heard rumors that at one time people had talked about having a pool put in. That's off the
No,
table.
That was across from the community school.
Well, that one too, but someone else had told me they were by the lakefront. Okay, I just wanted to make sure we weren't destroying someone's dream.
No,
something
the
there.
problem on the lakefront is when the water comes up, the water table rises and. it would be
Okay.
difficult.
Okay.
And that's my concern with the community maintenance facility.
Yes, that's the term.
Is that as you get further down below the parking lot, that area does flood. I've seen it.
Well, this would be, so, I don't know if I can put it on the screen here, but there's the walkway out to the boats. Then there's the sidewalk from the parking lot that kind of goes down off to the side, and this is the pattern we're talking about right here. So it's
Yes.
already an existing foundation.
Foundation, the electric service, everything's there because that previous building was there.
Yeah, and that was a very obvious building.
Yes.
But we're gonna make it pretty.
But we're gonna make the building pretty, but then there's the vehicle and equipment storage. So.
Well, which would be behind and fenced.
Yes, but is that area raised or does it slant down and is more prone to flooding?
I think that would all
Well,
depend.
actually, I
Details would be
think,
in the SDP.
yeah, and the plan, because it's 25 by 45 would be to have both of the vehicles inside.
Yeah, I think you could, if our roll doors at Celebration are 9 feet wide, so if you have 40, if the building on its side is 40 feet wide, 45 feet wide. You could get 2 to 3 roll doors easy to pull, and it's 25 feet deep. We'd want to use almost the whole pad for the building. You could get all the mules in there easy, and probably the trailers, probably park the CDD truck in there. It's more of like the miscellaneous,
Yeah.
the tractor would go in there for sure, so it's out of the elements. The other option we talked about too is possibly even putting like on the backside a lean-to. So that way you're kind of, anything that you're storing outside, you're not physically storing it in.
In the visible.
I
Open.
seem to remember that the building was perpendicular to the path out to the lake. Rather than facing the traffic circle, it was perpendicular.
So the narrow end, so it's only 25 feet wide, would be facing the traffic circle.
Right, and if you're talking about putting a lean-to on the back, that's also.
Gonna face the
side-
traffic.
Exactly. It's not gonna be.
Which would be then hidden behind a fence and shrubs and everything else too. So the yard wouldn't be
Just-
very big is what I'm getting at. It's
I'm
just
just
more
thinking
extra storage.
about the residents who live in that area and how they will be reacting.
And again, the lean-to and any of the stuff that we're talking about is all preliminary discussion. I don't, you may not need a lean-to, but I think you do need to have some sort of outside fenced-in storage for whatever we
Equipment and
come
materials.
across, right?
Well, for the equipment that they don't want to bring inside too, if something's leaking at the moment, they don't want to bring it in and have it leaking all over.
We'd probably want to store, yeah, there's. I'm
Or
sure
if you
some-
have bags of topsoil or something you
Yeah.
don't want to bring in.
Yeah, I still have we're not there, I can't really see it, I can't see the topography right now. But I seem to remember that beyond that, the land drops off where you're talking about this. Having some kind of something there that's fenced in for equipment and materials. And so my only concern again is about that area
Yeah.
getting flooded.
And I'm sure the county would have say, like, if we
Well,
can't
that-
release that or elevate it.
Yeah,
due to-
that area did not flood during either of the recent hurricanes, and I
I don't know.
would have thought it would have if it was going to.
All right, so Teresa said one thing, which is, and I don't know that the board needs to approve the move of field services temporarily to Ashley Park. I don't know, does the board?
It would be better that if you did. So we have it on record.
Because that's what she asked for. You're asking for something different.
No, I asked to clarify, I wanted clarification on her motion. She included all that in her motion. To temporarily have the field office moved to Ashley Park. And then to move forward with the permanent move to the lakefront parcel. Is what she has, but I wanted to know what that means.
Right.
Are we moving forward with having a site plan developed? All these things that are gonna incur cost? Or are you telling us to see what those costs are gonna be and bring it back? That's the clarification that I'm asking for.
Well, I don't think we're going to have a full idea of what the cost is until we start the site development plan approval process. We have to draw out a general site plan showing everything and take it to the county and sit down with them and go through so that they can say, hey, this looks good, but we need this, this, and this.
Who would be responsible for developing a site plan?
I presume it would be Mr. Minister.
That would be the gentleman in the polo shirt.
There are several gentlemen in polo shirts.
So he's actually got a horse and a guy with, yeah, mine doesn't have.
So then your motion could be moving the field offices temporarily to Ashley Park. And then remove the field office trailer, get that removed and out. And then have David start with the site plan for the lakefront parcel.
Right.
So moved.
Okay.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I hear a second
Does
for
that,
discussion purposes?
well, I mean, we're all, we basically all said it already, just, I mean, in deference, I mean, never mind to
Dan?
the residents of.
You want a second?
If you'll second.
I'll second, sorry, I'll second.
And then-
Yep, right.
Sorry.
Order. So, yeah, just, whether it's need to be within the wording of the motion or just, you know, including that direction that, I mean, this is in deference, not just to the residents of that area, but I mean, that's the big park right there and using boats, it's, you know, it's kind of the, you know, crown jewel of our neighborhood right there. So we need to make sure anything that we're doing is, you know, is aesthetically pleasing and
Yes.
to whatever extent.
And not a nuisance to the residents.
Yes. So I don't know if that needs to be, just that's the direction we're giving, or if that should be part of the motion.
Well, you're not even there yet. I think once you develop the site plan and then you're gonna be able to. If they say, yes, here's your site plan, it's gonna be up to you guys, what building you want there, what aesthetics you want within the county's criteria, obviously, but. To make it aesthetically pleasing to that area.
Right. And then so there, are you? For having gone through this process before, would there likely be, maybe here are some options, here's some different, you know, we're tied to the slab that's there, obviously. Or that'd be the preference. Are we thinking that as we go through this process, we'll have some further selection of, you know, lean-to approaches, things like that?
You're gonna determine all of that. This board's gonna determine all of that. All we're doing is getting a site plan to see what we can do, present it to the county to see what we have to do. But all of that aesthetic stuff, building wise, lean-tos, all that stuff is gonna be purely board decisions.
Right. Now, the county will require
Yes.
certain things
Yeah, they'll
like,
set the bounds and.
like obscuring, you know, we can't have a fenced area to store stuff in unless it's completely
Right.
screened from the neighbor. I mean, they are very particular about making it also aesthetically pleasing. So
And again, with that in that criteria, it'll be all of your decision.
And one other thing is if we don't do this, what's our other alternative?
I don't know of any other.
Okay.
There's, I
Well, I
mean,
think your other one is permanent Ashley pool.
But there's no
But
place
we
for
have no
storage
place
and
to
equipment.
store it.
Correct.
right, and so that would be, hope, you know, again, that would be tied to whenever that development happens between there. Maybe work something,
Right.
give us a corner that we can have a garage or whatever,
Right.
and hope that that works out versus we have to do the same thing again if we don't.
Yeah.
Okay. Any further discussion? I have a motion in a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Hearing none, motion passes.
Okay.
Oops. All right, so that negates the need to discuss the different proposals. The next item on our agenda is a discussion of website management.
So we've talked about this a few times over the course of probably last year and this year. I know Mr. Lee manages the website in between his many other busy activities that he has going on. So I reached out. There are several companies out there that do it. I was a little apprehensive at first because you do like to keep a lot of material on your website. And a lot of these companies that do the ADA compliant and manage and upload and all that stuff, there usually were page counts affiliated with that. Well, Campus Suite has done away with that. They used to allow you 750 pages annually as part of the contract, which, as you know, your agenda, 2 agendas would blow that away. And then the other financial documents you have to keep on there statutorily, you have to keep certain documents on your website for so long. So anyways, long story short, Campus Suite has done away with that. Now it's unlimited. They'll post whatever you want, your full agenda, any other thing that you want. We send it to them, they upload it. I could send them something at midnight and it's uploaded at 12:01. It's very quick. They provide quarterly reports back to the board to let you know they've done spot checks. They have other people go spot check, make sure everything's in ADA compliant, and all of that. So that is the proposal. Again, there's other companies out there. They are predominantly the ones who do CDDs. There are a few other ones. ADA Site Compliance has a few of them out there. They are more expensive and they still do a cost per page. And Campus Suite does not. So this is your best option. I'm familiar with them. Your attorney's familiar with them.
I was looking at some of the other websites. Is Campus Suite the one who does most of Celebration and other?
They handle them all, actually. I have one site that has ADA Site Compliance. That's it. The rest are Campus Suite. They really cornered the market and this ADA thing blew up a few years ago. And they're very good at what they do. And again, they're one of the only ones who send a quarterly report that the board can view. It's very lengthy. I would recommend us putting it in your agenda package, but I could absolutely send it out and you can even post it on the website if you'd like. But they're very good. It's very uniform website. They look really good. It's not very convoluted and it's easy to navigate. And you can also put what you would like on that site. So
Dan's the expert.
Okay, well, my questions, so this, the first item, the onboarding, and onboarding of the ADA compliant website and remediation of historical documents, is that, I don't know how much, room to maneuver there is with that, like, you know, if everything that, I mean, myself and then, Supervisor Farnsworth before were, you know, certainly diligent with making sure everything that was going on the website was, you know, searchable, ADA compliant, whatever. Is this onboarding charge, is that assuming that that's not the case? And is there?
no, so what the onboarding is they basically take everything on your website, they scrub it because you've got multiple duplications on that website.
Sure.
They scrub it, they take everything that is required. And then they migrate it with all your historical documents that have to be kept on there. They migrate it over and then they start adding the different things, all the folders and all that stuff. Once they do all of that, you're done with that onboarding. And then it is your annual, which is 1537.
So the 23-25, I got the impression that was both onboarding in the first year. And then the annual fee would be following years.
Correct. No, you read it right.
Okay.
And also in that first fee, that is, would be moving everything into whatever the new design. Okay.
Yep.
And I assume that's probably mostly fixed, or that they have
It's fixed as far as the template, but say if you wanted a picture of your beautiful entrance or town square, you wanted that to be on there, we can provide them pictures. That stuff is interchangeable. Some actually even have like a ticker thing that goes across and shows multiple pictures of your community. That is all perfectly fine. Footer is typically the same as what you have now. It's our information, your registered agent, all of that, your contacts page, would have all of our information on it. All of that would be the same. You'd have a news page if you wanted to post like your paving project, put it all on there. So all of that is virtually the same. It will look a little different than what Harmony's looks for sure, but the information will all be there and you can still add what you'd like on there. You're not restricted, is my point.
So, under compensation or prompt payment, it says upon execution, district agrees to pay one-time payment of $23.25, and then it B is starting on March 1st, 2023. The district agrees to compensate the contractor $1537.50 for domain fee maintenance and management of the website monthly auditing level. So it is not that we pay $23.25 now and next year we pay $1537. It's that we pay everything now. So that includes the onboarding, and then the annual fee is for this coming year,
The coming year,
not
which
for next year. No, it doesn't start next year.
it actually is. And if you look in here, there's a few like cross outs because they've changed their current way that they're doing it. So you'll see that. But what I would get you is if you guys agree, if you wanted to move in this direction, I would get you a correct revised proposal with the correct dates, because I got this a long time ago from them. And then we would have your council draw up, obviously, just the standard agreement, which we already have, because we have probably 35 districts with them. So we could use that standard agreement. It's already been approved by many councils. But yes, Carol, you're absolutely right, but we had to get the revised stuff because they used to not charge. They did have page counts and all that stuff too.
And Dan, anything else from you in terms of what what is your?
Yeah, what's the, there's not really a description. What does the social media manager entail? It says included with the annual fee there.
It's not.
I don't know what that entails, actually. Yes, just looking at your thing, I mean, I can find out.
Yeah,
That's the first time I've even had anybody point that out, and I've never even saw it. So I can definitely ask what social media manager means.
Right, and
Or
obviously.
what that entails.
Right, and with the special attention to, the record keeping and everything, I'm sure they know all the requirements and everything, so, yeah, along with the updated proposal, like some more clarity on what that is.
Sure.
Because there is a statement of work here, and the statement of work, I do not believe says anything about social media.
Yeah, this is actually the first time I've seen social media manager, or I must have missed it over the years, but I don't know really what
Because
that means.
I would love to know, because maybe we have a communication opportunity there.
Yeah, could be.
Yep.
I can definitely find out, what that is. The rest is in here. They follow the WCAG rules, and every time they're updated, they make sure they're updating and making sure your website is, and again, it puts the onus on them.
Yeah.
As far as any sort of
Yeah.
issues with your website, getting stuff loaded, like I said, we can send it over at midnight and it's loaded at 12:01. It's very automated. And now that they're doing full no page counts, it's much easier. Everything's on there.
So Dan, are you suggesting we table this until next month when we have our?
I'd like to proceed with getting the updated statement and everything with the updated, timeline and all that, and more clarity on the
Scope of work.
Right. I don't know if we need to move for that, or it's just that's the direction.
No, if that's the direction you want to go, that's perfectly fine. So we're talking, we need to know what the social media manager is. And what else are you asking, Dan?
Well, and just like you said, the updated.
Just it's a revised, yeah.
Right.
There's,
I
got it a while.
Yeah, I've got it, and I mean, I guess that would include, clarity that there's the onboarding fee and then it's the.
Yeah.
Recurring after
And
that.
when that annual fee starts,
Right.
whether it starts immediately or whether it's for the following year.
Yeah.
41st annual, okay.
Is it?
I'm not hearing a downside.
Pardon?
I'm not hearing a downside.
Are you comfortable? Is this looking good?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's
Or
not,
do
it's,
you-
it's not complete, I mean, we. Don't need to go on a sidetrack, but I mean, there's, with unlimited time, there's a lot that could be done to the existing, including just like, updates and things like that, I've been hesitant to do because if there's any issue and now the website's down, there's all that, so. Moving the, letting them handle that obviously sounds good, but, and still having access to, add our own things, add,
That will
pages,
not,
maps.
that we won't be able to do.
Well, I don't mean like, full access and everything, but saying, we want a page with like, a map of the
So
neighborhood.
letting them do it, like us directing them, yes,
Right.
because I can tell you. And other districts have asked this question too, like, well, can I still be an administrator to the site? And they're like, no, because if we're gonna be charged with keeping this site in compliance and we're
Right.
taking the onus, no one else, like, we don't even have access.
Mm-hmm.
But anything we send them, they will absolutely post it. So if you decided you wanted to put whatever on there, then we would just send it in, they would get it ADA compliant and post it.
Right, well, okay, so then under website services, it says, hosting support and training for users. Is that, I mean, by users, does that mean Infomark sending agendas? Is
Yeah.
that-
That's what it is, unless they changed it, which I can clarify, but I can guarantee they
Right.
didn't, because, they're not gonna take the full responsibility if
Of course.
there can be
Somebody's
10
not-
hands in it.
Right, and I
Yeah.
mean, and most of what I end up doing is just, the agendas, minutes, updates,
Right.
fiscal year, everything had, roll over the old data and all that. As far as, it sounds like we'd still have the input of, we wanna, maybe, get an updated, trail map,
Oh, yeah.
all that stuff is all there, so.
Yep,
Again, I'm
absolutely.
not seeing it inside, so.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so we'll bring this back the next meeting with further detail. but
Yeah.
This looks like the direction.
We
we'd like
want to
to
go, I think so. Under, scope of statement of work. Number 3, under number 4, it says contractor provide a written report to the district summarizes the audit and any mediations made. I assume that's monthly, but it'd be nice to,
And she said it was.
It's quarterly,
oh, see, well, then it should say how often, because
yeah,
it could be like this could be one time.
yeah,
or it
no,
could be-
it's quarterly.
Yeah, so it
I
should
get
just
them and
state that.
I'm inundated that quarter, with like 30 of them. But I will clarify for you, Carol, and it'll all be in the updated one that I'll
Proposal.
submit for April. And again, just so you know, budgetarily, you already have money in your budget that you wouldn't add for this. It's already there.
It's
Yeah.
a pretty small number. so.
Exactly.
Again, I don't see a downside.
Sound good.
Okay. All right.
All
Sorry
right.
that took so long.
Next item on the agenda.
Let me just clarify, it says here in this contract further down, you pay the 2,300 to get on board. You pay the 1,500 right now, and that's for the next year's worth of service.
That's what I said.
Yeah, that's what Carol said.
But you were asking her to clarify, sorry.
All right, next item on the agenda is consideration of a pool reservation request. This came from Harmony High School. In the past, before COVID, they would come over once a year at the end of the school year. And use our pool for what they consider a reward field trip for their students. They're asking to be able to come over on May 12th. And use the pool from 8:30 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Move to approve.
I have a motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion in second. Any discussion?
What's an ESE?
It's special education.
Oh, I read the thing over and over. No.
Okay. Hearing no further discussion, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Hearing none, motion passes.
Will the pool be closed?
Yes, whenever students come over, we can go ahead and close. the
Make a
pool.
note, Jason, that we're making sure, May 12th, 8:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. The pool is closed down except for this group, please.
And it just, yeah, if we can post a sign on the gate for the users, regular users, so they'll be aware in advance.
In advance.
Yes.
At least a week before.
Yeah, at least a week before would be good. That way they can make other arrangements to go to the Ashley Park pool. Next item on the agenda, Would that also include a waiver of the security deposit and fee?
Yes.
And my second agrees, and all those who voted agree.
So no deposit, no fee. Jason.
Okay, we've already dealt with the offer of the Amaryllis bulbs. We'll deal with that next meeting. The next item on the agenda is consideration of resolution 2023-04, setting a hearing on revised amenity suspension and termination rules.
What's the reason for this, since we already have rules about?
Well, we do, I did review the proposed rule. It's very well written and better than what we have, but what we've discussed at the last two meetings is that Angel, our district manager, is going through all the rules, and to save money on legal advertisement, because every rule that we change has to be legally advertised for a hearing, that we were going to do them all at once. So I would recommend that we table this until such time as we're completed with our rule review, and come back with a full package of rules. Anyone opposed to tabling this until then?
No, ma'am.
And I'm halfway through those, so I can get them done sooner. Wes, did you hear that?
I did, and we are comfortable with that. We are recommending these updated rules for, the majority of the districts that we represent that have amenity facilities. I don't know how frequently you may be seeing an Angel up in Northeast Florida, more and more. We are seeing it. It's largely one law firm that's doing it. A law firm challenging CDD suspensions from amenity facility usage, various grounds, and we feel like these rules help protect and put the CDD in the best position to defend those types of claims. By no means am I suggesting that you need to rush this through. I think for economic savings on the notices, tabling it makes sense. If there's any questions on the rule today, we're happy to address those or address them when you're ready to formally approve them.
Yeah, when we're ready.
Okay, thank you.
So do we need to move to table?
No, we'll just table. The next item on the agenda is consideration of resolution 2023-05, adopted record retention policy. I reviewed this, and we have record retention in place currently. It's under our contract with Intermark. I see no reason to do this whatsoever.
Why did it come up?
So, quickly, very quick, so you don't have to get into the weeds and waste time about it. Back when Bob Conkar was here for that interim period when Kristen left, he did present a records retention. It's some old, it's old records that they still had in banker boxes. And I guess he gave the option to digitize or continue storing them. And it was like $15 a box. You all refused it or declined to approve it. And I think Tim may have even told you, don't do that, because we are your records retention. And why would you pay us additionally for something we're already under contract to do? So again, that's where it came from. I was supposed to put it back on your agenda months and months ago, and I did not.
But why would you put it back on the agenda if it's something we're already paying for?
Because
The powers that we were.
right, so I need you to formally decline it if that's what you choose to do. And I don't know, Wes may have a take on this, but that's kind of where it's at.
Well, let's hear from him then.
Okay.
So if Angel, if I understand what you're saying is the present agreement for district management services provides that Intermark serves as the custodian of records, which means
Correct.
retain. If that's the case, then I understand where your prior counsel was coming from. That's why, would the board approve an agreement to change that or pay for any additional obligation. So I think it makes sense for the board to continue to take the position that it's choosing not to approve that particular policy and instead let let Infomark continue to retain the records as the custodian of records. And so no, I don't know that I have any different recommendation as if I'm understanding the circumstances correctly.
Do we
You are-
need to formally decline this
Yes.
by, okay,
Well, and so one other question, is this is talking about, a charge per month per box? So is this talking about, I mean, how many paper records do we still have versus?
we're
what's-
not gonna do this though.
Right, well, yeah.
Yeah, so essentially what's gonna happen is I'm gonna go back and say the board declined it, and we're gonna take those banker box and we're gonna scan them in, and they're gonna be part of your digital record. We're not gonna store the banker boxes anymore. We're going to scan them in and
And the decision to keep them in the banker boxes, and my understanding was the district manager who's been handed down. And currently.
Yeah.
Why don't you move over?
So go ahead.
You wanna move over the sun a little, maybe? Move to decline, approval of resolution 2023-05.
You lost the screw the chair.
Yeah, I should all. I'll second.
Maybe look at-
All in favor of decline?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, hearing none, motion to decline this new policy for records retention. Passage unanimous.
Okay.
All right,
Yeah.
so next item on the agenda.
Can I just interject something real quick? Can we, I'll get with it, they make stand-up screens. They're probably like under $50 that we could. Purchase there's no shade coming here, and it's pretty.
Be every meeting.
Well, at least for these few months, I mean, there has been an issue really before, but this is an easy problem to fix. We can't. close the blinds
Daylight
in
savings
here.
time.
Yeah.
Thank you, daylight savings time.
Yeah. Well, we'll move on.
Yep.
This is working for me.
We need to buy this.
I'm saying,
All right.
we can fix it,
Yeah.
let's continue.
The next item on the agenda is discussion of Buck Lake and adoption of the recommendations.
Did we skip the audit?
we got.
Yeah,
the
we
audit.
Oh, I'm sorry, no, we're at the audit. That's a must do.
Yes.
I think 150, what is it, sorry.
So on page 198, acceptance of fiscal year 2022 audit. Do I have any questions about that?
No, I just want to say there are several places in this audit document that essentially say, we were checking to see if there were any inadequacies or inappropriate things, and in 3 different places it said we didn't find anything, and it's CDD is doing things like they should be according to,
The clean audit.
so move to approve the audit.
I have a motion to approve for this moment. Fiscal year 2022.
Thank you.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to approve. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Okay, now the discussion of Buckley Commission report. You have a report before you. I had asked that they include all of the background information, the Buckley agreement that we have with Harmony West. As well as the full agenda materials, so you could see what the current treatment plans and Buckley management plans and policies are. The committee recommended no changes to any of those, management plan, the policies, or the treatment plan. They did recommend continuing with the treatment program, using biotech at the cost of $1,200 per treatment, which would mean Harmony's share would be $600 per treatment. The treatments are typically monthly treatments. However, if they do miss a treatment, we will not be charged. So this is no change in the cost from last year. It is also recommended that the board approve a not to exceed of $1,750 for the fiscal year, upcoming fiscal year for general project coordination. Again, this is with the proviso that Harmony and the Harmony West representative both agree that these services are needed prior to authorizing any such services. This is exactly what we had last year, but a much reduced price. So I would at this time ask that those two items be approved.
Move to approve the recommendations in the Buckley Committee report as presented.
Sorry, do I have a second?
I said, I'll second, sorry.
I'll second. I have a motion in a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none. Passes unanimously. Thank you, everyone.
And by the way, they missed 3 months. Here.
Yes, we're working on that right now. Staff reports. We're on our field managers report.
We were technically the field manager. Yeah, so the report is in front of you. The picture report is in front of you. Benchmark did respond. They sent it this week and she apologized that they were a little late on that, but they did respond to Jason's report. Obviously, we're seeing positive stuff out of them. So in front of you, there's also the written field manager reports, if there's any questions on that.
I was impressed with the field manager's report. It's good to see that things are being addressed proactively, that you're actually seeing the problems around you that need to be corrected. Thank you.
Tell us what's happening with the cover on the
Yes.
pavilion at Buck Lake, please.
I'm looking for vendors now. I'm still waiting to hear back from one. I haven't got a quote yet, but
I think I know your questions, what you're thinking. Why is it so long? We did put it in for an insurance claim after Ian. And it was not declined, but our deductible.
I was trying to incorporate a bunch of stuff. I knew the shade structure was gonna come in under the deductible, so I was trying to do like the shade structure, the few fence areas that kind of came down and put them all together, and it still didn't meet our deductible.
But why have we waited so long for?
Well, they were waiting
proposals?
to see, he just let us know last week that we didn't meet it. So I told them to go ahead and get proposals.
But we were gonna have to get proposals anyway.
We had one proposal.
Well, no, I think
But it takes so long to
the
fix.
Rise of Castle is, why didn't we do this while we were adding up everything? I mean, the hurricane was back in November,
Mhm.
and here we are in March.
October.
October, yeah. So in the future, instead of waiting, even if we're submitting, let's go ahead and get the
fine.
proposals and have everything laid out, so. that-
And we, like I said, we have proposals, we submitted them to insurance for the claim, so it was just, I think your question is why didn't we pull the trigger prior to the claim being approved or denied? I was just,
We have, you're saying we have
there's
proposals,
one proposal,
how much is it?
it was 7. I think
Little
around
under
7
8,000,
7 what?
grand, sorry,
yeah.
I know it's for the record, sorry.
Now, it all needs to be replaced because it's pretty bad shape, all the way around, it's stretched. That is above our
Yeah.
limit, so please continue.
So he's trying to get a couple more.
proposals and then I'll address it.
Yeah, it's a point of contention. Tell us about the splash pad.
The splash pad, so the splash pad is interesting. We did have professional fountain services come out. That was the vendor that was recommended. After the last company was out looking at the VFD. So the VFD is communicating to the pump. What they're saying is that the pump and the VFD are not, or that the solenoids are not activating in the well. And Supervisor Kramer asked me, well, didn't we replace the solenoids in the past? No, we replaced the kits inside of the filter kit on the backside of the solenoids. So Professional Fountain Services came back with a proposal, which is fairly substantial. It's like $12,000 for the solenoid replacements and then a deep clean. So I think that's part of the problem as
Didn't
well.
we do a deep clean?
They attempted a deep clean. Another vendor did. It was like $350, if I'm not mistaken. And they couldn't get all the way into where the solenoids are apparently, or where this clog is further down the line. The clog is a secondary issue to the solenoids. So Jason reached out to Spees, which we've dealt with in the past, and then another vendor to get comparable quotes. What was the second vendor? Florida Pools, what was that? Pool? No, the pool vendor that backed out of the. Anyways, the third vendor said, once they came out and said, no, we're not touching it. We don't do anything like this. We're still waiting on Spees. The guy from Spees was on vacation last week. We followed up again this week. Do you have that proposal yet? Still not yet. Typical Spees response. So currently we just have the one proposal for the $12,000 right now to replace solenoids.
Now, have you reached out to City of Kissimmee to see? Who
No.
manages their, or maintains their splash pad?
Not yet, no.
Do we ever use like OpenGov or anything like that for putting out requests for bids on
Dump
things?
decks.
Huh?
Dump decks.
Dump tax.
Dump decks. It's a website.
Well, there are a couple of services. There's, forgotten the other one now. An advocate sign up, but no one seems to want to use it. It's the one that.
Vendor
both
link.
The county and the school board use.
It's not OpenGov,
No, it's not OpenGov, it's.
vendor link.
Vendor.
So, I mean, I wonder if we can use those to get some bids.
Right, I mean, it's no cost to us to join vendor link.
And OpenGov, I don't think there's a cost there either, or if it is, it's minimal.
We may be able to find, and if we just reach out to both St. Cloud and Kissimmee Parks and Recreation. They've been great. I checked with them when a resident brought up one of their exercise trails. They were very open, they're anxious to work with us. They're willing to give us advice. And to share names of their vendors. They're even willing to let us piggyback onto some of their vendor contracts, which would save us a lot of work and a lot of going through all this. So if you could just reach out to them and say, hey, we're the little guy on the block, can you give us a hand up? Then I think that would go a long way. And vendor link would help us.
And OpenGov.
So I will say that we're not just here, but across the board, I think David can even speak to it too. It's getting very hard to find vendors for numerous reasons. I think the abundance of work now, a lot of jobs, they're not coming because it's so small. So if we can document that we've reached out to X, Y, and Z, but we only ended up getting one, but we've exhausted numerous things. Do you still want to see that one proposal after we've exhausted?
Yeah, but with a complete explanation of.
Right, understood. With this is who we've reached out to, we have documentation, and that way at least you know the due diligence was done. We're just not getting
Right.
a response.
The problem is our splash pad's been down, what, almost a year now. And
Yeah, and some of that, but some of that issue was the pump, the delay in getting the pump
That's
here.
right,
So
but
that was
that-
about 3 months of that.
that's about
waiting
3
game.
months. The other 9 months has been very frustrating for both the board and the residents. Summer's coming up and they're gonna want to use the splash pad. Does the splash pad still work? So if you turn it on,
Yeah, it goes about a foot high.
well, the little toddlers love to play in that. So if it's working that much, let's keep it on and running. That will at least keep what we've already cleaned out, right?
We check with that vendor to make sure it's not gonna do anything to the pump. Because if the VFD is telling the pump to go and the pump increases RPMs and it's not pushing, we may wear that pump out.
Well, I don't want to do that, but check and see, but if, yeah, because part of the problem with it clogged up, I think. Because it wasn't clogged up before, is that we've let it sit unused so long. And it's gotten all sorts of debris down in it. And we just need to make sure we're not repeating the mistakes of the past. Okay. Any other questions about the splash pad? I need a magic wand.
Yeah, really.
I can give you an update as well on the Polaris.
Yes. Same.
It is the same. I've copied Brent Maynard from Polaris on the emails to Briggs. No, I'm not even getting a response. So I did reach out to not Kissimmee Motorsports. Drawing a blank, but they're out of Sanford. They did give me a proposal a while back, and I'm asking if that's still
Get an
valid.
updated one.
I emailed him and left him a message on his phone. I haven't gotten a response from him yet. So
Okay.
I have old proposals and I can't
Well,
reach back
just-
out to. I hate to say it, but Kissimmee Motorsports, if we want to try to get a second one, but
I'm very uncomfortable going back to them.
I understand.
There's a one down in
Melbourne.
Sebastian.
Yeah, so I went on a while back when I went to Polaris's website, it was more on certified Polaris dealers, because if they're not certified dealers. Then they're buying the engine from a certified dealer and then putting their markup on top of it and then selling it to
Well,
us.
just double check with them because they may be a certified Polaris mechanic, in which case they can get parts and things. So if you'll check with them on that, and even if they're paying the markup, if they're still under what the other folks are, it's still a good deal.
Okay.
That maybe, can I?
Sure.
I wonder what would happen if we got bids for putting in a new splash pad. How many would crawl out from the woodworks? And then say, well, we decided we don't want new ones, and you fix our old one.
Well, I mean, even for the sake of comparison, I mean, it's.
Right, if it's
Is
12,000.
there anything left? Oh, so we're looking at 12,000 right now for the solenoid. Is there anything left of the structure of the splash pad that has not been replaced or refurbished recently?
No, I mean, the VFD is the only other big thing that, and I don't know when that was put in. I'm assuming it was put in when the splash pad was put in, but it looks in good shape. It's functioning. The gentleman that came out multiple times to hook his computer up to it, which by the way was no charge. He didn't have any issues with the VFD. Everything else down there in the vault is pipe. It's PVC, and then you have the one pump, the VFD's on the wall. And then it's pipes coming out with the different valves that open and close. I mean, it's not very like in depth. It's just,
Yeah,
When you say vault, you say there's some place they can crawl underground and.
oh, it's a concrete enclosed structure. Yeah, you don't notice it because there's a metal lid. It's in a secret fortified location that I can't give details because people will visit.
And you'll have to kill us.
But if it's a turn.
I didn't say that.
There's a turning, but you'll think you would do.
Well, I'm not gonna be anywhere now.
Moving on. Fence proposals.
Yep. So, again, the fence along 192, we just proactively, we're trying to give you some proposals for long-term placement options. Believe there was some discussion that we were checking with the PUD on the need for that fence.
There's no requirement to keep that fence. It's an asset. If you keep it, you have to maintain it, but it's not something that is required.
So at this
That I
point, it's a
find.
liability. It's
Liability.
more of a
asset.
liability.
Well, I think people who have homes behind that fence feel that it's a safety feature for them. And it's also sort of a privacy feature for them because there's a barrier between the road and them. And I don't know how many linear feet that is versus areas where there is no residences behind the fence. But I
do love the fence. I
yeah,
really
and it is
like
really
but
indicative of
It's
harmony.
expensive.
Yeah.
I did check the measurements. I don't know if there was a mistake in measuring. And you included the golf course portion and the portion to the
It
east. of
may
our
have,
ownership.
it could be.
The actual linear feet is 5150 instead of the 6100. So that does drop the quotes down with the AC fence master fence would be about 100 and just under 102,000. Ashley would be 133,900 and Larossi would be 123,235. That's still a large amount of money that would deplete
our current reserves. We would have no more reserves until we get an influx of money for the next fiscal year, the 300,000 that would be going to reserves.
Really, but our financials say something different, I thought. I thought we had.
Well, we have 800 and some odd in right now, but we haven't yet to pay for the alleyways, which is 600 and some odd.
So yeah, it's gonna be very slim.
Is there such a thing with CDDs? And I don't know, so, can you have special assessments or not special, can you ever go to the residents and say, do you want us to do this or don't you? And let them vote on it? No,
That's the point of having these meetings here is.
Yeah,
where
we're stuck.
yeah.
We're the last result.
So, the other thing is, if we want a fence, doesn't have to be the white with the railings. Isn't there like a concrete block one and then has stucco
That's-
put on it?
Gonna be a lot more expensive.
Okay,
Yeah.
but then it wouldn't have to be replaced every 15, 20 years.
What if somebody runs through it?
Yeah.
Well, then you repair it, you don't have to replace.
That's an
it.
insurance claim anyways too, but
Yeah, because
you have to paint, you still have pressure washing that takes place. But painting it would probably be your next
yeah,
major cost that you would associate with it.
but we have to do that now. I mean, the pressure washing and the cleaning and that, so I just was tossing it out as an idea.
Are we still in violation or has that been resolved to the?
We pressure wash it. I mean, it's. They have,
Okay.
Well, it's been resolved now, but I've noticed there's several more, in fact, and they've even had code enforcement actions against the golf course for their section of our fence. And they are repairing. They did reach out to me and I said, no, that's your fence, go repair.
There's gonna be more
But-
to come if we.
But
don't
yeah,
do
it's
something.
falling apart daily, so.
I was just gonna ask, is it just disintegrating? Is that what's happening?
It is,
Very
you know,
brittle.
It's brittle, it's old.
It's bleached and. totally
Yeah.
deleted.
And so if we get a new fence, we're gonna have all new posts put in too? We can't just put. new-
Oh, it's everything from cap to post.
So it's not concrete posts there now?
No, they're not concrete. In fact, they don't even have wood in the center of them.
Oh,
They're just PVC.
Yeah,
all the PVC.
I thought that was a PVC sleeve over a.
yeah, that's what I would saw over a concrete post.
Well, the next item on the, I'm sorry, the next item on the agenda is sidewalk replacement, which, you know.
Well, yeah, I think we may need to pass that one by, but we'll get to that in a moment. But anyway,
Well, this.
And the sidewalk replacement is hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah,
that's, it's not accurate, so
oh.
we'll discuss that.
But still,
But still,
we have
It's still
areas.
a
that
large
need to be-
expense.
Exactly.
that's something
And
we still have to
yeah,
address.
so as much as I don't really want to table the fence replacement, I think I don't.
On the
Well,
fence.
you're
What
coming
I-
into budget talks in the next month and
Mhm.
the next 2 months. So these are gonna be things that you need to discuss during those budget discussions.
Okay.
Right, but we don't need to approve these.
No.
proposals.
No, some of the stuff is just proactively representing it so that way you all have it in front of you. And then as we're getting into the budget season, we've got recent proposals, so we have recent numbers to go off of.
The fence, what I'd like to ask our board and other folks to do and give us feedback is seeing the cost, what does the community want to do? I don't want to do a formal vote, but if people can reach out and give us some feedback. So right now, I'm getting the feeling that there's no consensus, so we're not going to vote on the fence.
That's right.
That's right.
So we will move on. The sidewalk proposal.
Go ahead, Brett.
Yeah, so. We decided, again, proactively to go out and find all the panels that were broken or 2 inches. You know, the 2-inch gap that we've talked about prior when we're doing grinding, if it's raised, the sidewalks are lifted over 2 inches. Not grinding it down, you're doing a panel replacement. So what we did, at no charge, and from Mark's field staff, not these guys, outside guys, went out and we basically walked the entire community and noted every pad that had breaks in it or was lifting. So in front of you is a whole total view of what Harmony has in terms of, even if the pad isn't a hazard now, it's got a crack going through it. Now, what that means is when that pad does buckle, we can't grind where there's a crack. So eventually it's going to need to be replaced. We went out and did some looks today. Again, it's all just a proactive approach is what we're trying to do. There are, it looks like, a couple areas where sidewalk dimensions don't match. That may have been a typo. We'll follow up on that. We can revise it however needed. We did revise separate work order for the cup seed panels.
The primrose willow.
Yes,
Before you go on,
sorry, not,
so going back to this big thing like Teresa has, it's in your agenda. So Brett and I wanted to come and spot check some stuff with Brett. We looked at it. There are some dimensions that are not accurate. But what we discussed is how this should have been presented, or in the future would be presented, is like he stated, some just have a crack in them. They're not a hazard today. There's literally just a crack going across it, but it's something that needs to be monitored, right? So those should have been categorized in this as
yeah,
monitor. These are red. These need to be done immediately. These are kind of mid-level kind of, and then these are kind of low level that we need to monitor. That's kind of how it probably should have been broken up, which will be done in the future, but the ones that need to be done immediate, I think this was just an overall audit of the whole thing. So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Okay, I've got to make some statements here. I looked over this and was just shocked because we have been very proactive and responsible in taking care of our sidewalks, except the one on Primrose Road. And several of the supervisors have been asking over and over and over to get that one fixed, and it's still not fixed. So that's a priority.
There's been cones there for weeks and tape
Right.
came down and still nothing's been done.
So, and we gave direction 2 months ago that has to get fixed immediately. And it's still not fixed. I looked at this and I went out and I walked the neighborhood and I was just shocked. I mean, right around your house, Joe, they're saying that 6 panels need to be replaced. And I couldn't find a single one that needs to be replaced. There may be one seam that needs to be ground down. In my house, they say 3 panels need to be replaced. The grindings have worked beautifully. It's probably going to be at least 1 year, if not 2 years, before any panels need to be replaced there. And that's through all of this. I was flabbergasted at the event.
So
We have standards. Our standard is if it's 1/4 inch, between 1/4 inch difference in height to 2 inches, it gets ground.
Mhm.
If it's 2 inches or above, it needs a panel replaced.
those aren't, what standards are you, those are the standards that we go off of.
That's right,
Yeah, so,
right.
but we don't do panel replacement in this contract, so anything would be outside of it, correct?
I understand that, but I'm saying this is. You're saying these panels needed to be replaced now, but
No, if you,
no.
if you actually read the proposal, it says that those panels would be to anything over 2 inches and broken panels, meaning cracked.
can we get a new proposal, please?
I've already got one for,
Broken down, like I just stated.
Well, yeah, and at least like quick, I mean, how soon can we get those?
Primrose, he already has the proposal for that.
it's over, it's about $5,500 if we include the curbing, which I called David today. If you want us to do the curbing, we can. If you don't want us to do the curbing, we can exclude it. It'll drop the price about $1,500. The curbing technically is also the county. But
Did try and ask them to do it.
we do the sidewalks and then don't do the curbing, you still have a trip hazard because that curbing on Primrose is all jacked up. So,
yeah.
you know, it's,
I would advocate to move forward with the 5,500. We get 5,000 back from our insurance company.
Yeah, I submit everything that you do.
And that's on, just,
to
so-
insurance.
that's keeping it at $15 a square foot. I
Mhm.
didn't change anything because of economy of scale
Okay,
either,
so
so.
you go back and measure those. though, because
We did, Jason already measured them.
And you have approval to.
How
move
much
forward with
was
that?
it?
Well,
50,000?
no, it would need the board. to-
Okay, so move to approve the replacement.
Call
of
it
the-
5,600, it's 55, 3 something change, I don't remember.
Not to exceed.
5,600.
To replace sidewalk panels on Primrose Willow or there.
Yeah, that.
Yeah.
Entire
That's-
section.
I would say
Between-
if you want, we can reach out to the county about the curb, which may save
Between
you
Bear
about-
Grass and Blue Stem,
They won't pay.
right? Between Bear Grass and Blue
I
Stem,
believe so, yeah.
Yeah.
There's like
Yeah, well, there's a.
or
little
cup
extra.
seating, cup seating.
Some of them have been replaced, but that got missed during the last.
Yeah.
Big push. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
And
Let's
then
get that
next
scheduled
next
ASAP,
meeting,
please.
you'll
Yes,
get the, yes, please.
We'll have it revised, the big proposal revised.
It's broken down,
For the next meeting.
yes.
Okay.
Can I ask a quick question on this? When, we have all these sidewalk issues and a lot of it is caused by tree roots. Is there anything we can ever do to the tree roots, stop them from doing that, short of pulling the tree out? Okay, I didn't think so, but,
They are cut in that specific place,
oh,
But
where
not-
that,
not
okay,
beyond that.
Anything further from here?
While we're still on the field, I understand that we're still, looking for more, support from vendors with, the splash pad. Do we want to? In hopes of finding something, do we want to, maybe authorize some, if we're able to find something under some amount to, grease the skids for, proceeding with anything, or?
It's hard to tell what those prices are gonna come in, so you can absolutely do that if you want. If we can find a vendor, a qualified vendor to do the work under whatever you all.
well,
approve,
didn't we
can
have
do
the
that.
one?
We
We
have
have
a
the one.
qualified vendor who proposed 12 plus, so if we did a not to exceed of 13,000, but. I don't know how you might want to handle that.
Do we know how much we spent on that, trying to repair that splash?
The pump was the biggest cost.
And that was
Geez, I don't know.
4,000.
Yeah, I think right around there, maybe 6.
The rest have been minor here and there.
Well, I think we should just go ahead and bite the bullet and do it. Nobody, I mean, if we're having so much trouble getting someone to do it, and we have one person. Unless you think we're gonna find someone else.
I mean, we're still waiting on speeds. That's, we know, well.
There's fees and we discussed if there's anything else from, other. Districts, I mean, but everyone's sick of waiting at this point.
Well, and speeds up, even if they respond, how long before they come and do the work, even if they agree to do it,
Not a big fan of that.
No, I mean, I don't think they care about our business is the,
And speed is just the solenoids,
Yeah,
nothing else.
this guy's everything.
Yeah.
That needs to be done.
oh, okay.
Mhm. And the other vendor wouldn't touch it, because it's not something they want to get into. So.
Yeah, well, and this guy went to the trouble of making a,
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
this one included the solenoids too.
And the cleaning.
This $12,000 was gonna.
Well,
make it
it's,
work.
let's say not to exceed, because we don't have the exact number.
Right, but I meant that contract covered it all.
We do, actually, it's in the agenda.
Did it include a warranty?
Where?
Is
No.
it, it's not in that agenda? I'm sorry.
Move to approve replacing the solenoids and cleaning. As described by field services, the amount not to exceed 13,000.
Where was that? It's not in our.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second not to exceed 13,000 for solenoids and deep cleaning of the splash pad to get it fully operational. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously.
Oh, I thought it was. on the-
No, Stanley had one.
Yeah,
Was that-
there's
oh,
email
was I-
traffic, but it didn't.
Yeah.
Oh, that's okay. So that's where I saw that 12,000.
Okay. I'm sorry, since it is not on our agenda, this would be considered a walk-on agenda item. And as such, we have to reopen a public comment period. So if there's anyone in the audience or on Zoom who would like to make a comment on the repair of the splash pad. Seeing none. Give it to Yeah, and your name for the record.
Joe Janizak.
There we go. Thank you so much. All right.
Your suit and everything ready.
So the motion did pass. We'll move forward on that. At this point, we're on the district engineers report.
No, district council, no.
No, engineer.
Oh, okay, sorry. I'm going by the agenda, but way down the agenda page is sorry. Sorry, David. You can hold it against me.
All right, I have two things on my agenda. First one is Billy's Trail. I finally found a contractor who is interested in doing the work. We have used them on 2 other CDDs. It's the old site line of management. They're called something else now.
That's SYT.
It was SYT. Now they're called Element Environmental.
Yep.
So he's committed to doing it. So before I give him final plans, one thing I heard recently was there's golf carts on that trail. And I'm not sure we want to accommodate that because especially at the end when we turn and try to go through the trees.
There shouldn't be any golf carts should not be allowed on that trail.
How are we gonna prevent them?
Put up signs or something.
I don't know if there's anything in the PD on Butterfly Trail, which is I guess is the other main trail called out in the PD. Electric carts especially are allowed.
Your insurance, I've talked to your insurance company and it becomes a liability because it is a quote unquote walking trail. And if you have vehicles on there and a pedestrian gets hit, it becomes a liability. It becomes a liability for the district. And I don't like to talk about liability in a meeting, but just to give you a little bit of.
Well, we need to get a mower, like a batwing mower up there. I mean, it needs whatever we put in needs to be able to support getting a batwing mower up Billy's Trail so that it can be maintained.
Well, at the end, when we walked it, we were trying to navigate through those trees and I didn't think we wanted to create a wide opening, so. And the culvert gets wider, it's not a big deal, but
The mowing would just go. Are we mowing the entire trail off of our property?
So the CDD, we have our parcel that we need to maintain. The developer tract, so that's the actual old ranch road, which I mean, that's what existed as before. It's built and wide enough for vehicles. That is maintained separately through the HROA. So whatever mowing and stuff needs to happen there, we should be accommodating for that in our, the access we're providing through the CDD tract.
well,
Does that mean we're gonna have to take down trees?
Well, I mean, there's already, the issue was that, the way the lot was platted, it didn't exactly, or the trail that was kind of blazed, it didn't exactly follow the property line. So it, it kind of, and we know with having been surveyed recently, it's, there might have been a small number of trees that would need to be cleared out to have any kind of access through there.
Except for pedestrian.
Right, well,
So, yeah, when we first created the CDD trail, because of course initially the trail was on developer property, which is now all houses in the enclaves. The district property had, in order to create a trail that met up with Billy's Trail proper, which is on 4-star property now, we had to bushwhack a bit in order to be able to let people even walk through. And some of that area does have, there's one place where there's a grove of trees. And in order to be able to maintain Billy's Trail, so that it's walkable over time, we will need to get equipment in there. So if that means we're gonna need to take down just a few trees that are not in the conservation area, it's on the district property. We may need to take down some of those trees to afford access to Billy's Trail.
Well, mower is one thing, but there's a lot of soft, wet spots along the way, which if you're walking, it's no big deal. But if I'm worrying about slippery golf cart tires, do I have to go back and put gravel everywhere to kind of fill in those wet spots?
Well, is that, so if that, to address the liabilities, that's something we can fix with signage. I mean, I think when
Fix how? Saying no golf carts? I mean, are you talking about disallowing golf carts?
well, to maintain this trail that exists, we need to, whatever access we provide needs to be big enough to get, a mower back there. So I don't know that, it would be even an option really to have our access be small and narrow enough to disallow golf carts by just not making it big enough. If I make it big enough to get a mower back there, it's big enough to get a golf cart back there. So if our desire is to not have people do that, then.
Well, you could do something at the entry. We were talking about this. As bollards, they have removable bollards that lock, so whoever's bringing a mower in there would have the access key. You could remove them, take the mower in and re-secure.
Right, well, the concern there is it's our property and then it, you get far enough and then it's, residential properties. If we just block off the access across ours, are people just gonna be, are we going to be creating a problem for the people whose house is right there? If people try and bring carts and they're just driving around those.
Yeah, because they can probably access it around the back of that pond by the golf course. Even if we put bollards here, it's open here and people could drive and avoid the bollards, I believe.
Well, my point is, we're gonna make them cart friendly. It's gonna go from a nature trail to almost something that's semi-rigid and hard, because the second there's water out there, they're gonna get stuck so if that's the intent.
Well, there's golf carts on Butterfly Trail, right? People have taken that, and people have taken golf carts on Billy's Trail for the last 20 years. I mean, that Billy's Trail Road, the Spoil Pile Road, was meant to be a truck driving and even cattle driving.
The ranch road.
Yeah, it's a ranch road, so it was meant for vehicles, right? It's just the CDD property leading up to that is, I think, what you're referring to, is that right?
Correct.
It's gonna be an expense, however you guys want to do it. I think is where you're going with that, right, David?
Yeah, if you want to leave it natural, we just put some culverts in, and just like you and I walked it before. If you want to keep that nature versus you want to make it cart friendly, it's going to be a little bit more robust and there's more money, so.
Well, but can we still allow carts while not making it cart friendly?
The problem is you're gonna have the problem like the mud hole where we're gonna put the culvert is you're gonna have mud holes like that in several different locations, so it's not gonna be pedestrian friendly if it's cart friendly. Is that what I'm hearing? It's gonna get mucked up
I think the
and
carts are gonna make it worse for the pedestrians.
My sense is if we need to put gravel in later to deal with that problem, then we do it later.
All right, I've just been out there when it's been wet and it's out of wet spots, so we can post it and say no golf carts, and then people they can still do it and get stuck. And you can deal with this later about adding more to it, but okay.
I know it's not the answer you wanted to hear.
No, it's just money, so if you want to.
so by posting it, no golf carts, that protects us. I mean, we're posting of no golf carts on
Best you can do.
anywhere but the streets and the parking areas right now, so, and they still go up on the landscaped areas on, so we can't. So we're covered with our insurance.
Well,
Yeah.
if they continue bad enough, the sheriff could rescind the golf cart.
You've got to put them at every entrance,
Mhm.
the CDD entrance.
Well, we just.
No-
one,
Yeah, no golf cart allowed, and at least that,
Mhm.
if something does happen,
Then.
then we can at least
Well,
say, look,
We would
it's
need
very
two.
prominent.
We would need
and-
one at the entrance from Five Oaks, and we need one at the entrance from the 4-star property.
And you need one in between. There's a big bare spot between the houses. That goes where that control structure is, and then you can drive down there and get it. But that's
Oh, okay.
HOA, that's not.
Oh, it's.
I mean, you can put a sign there at the toe of the slope,
So we're talking 3 signs,
3 signs.
3 signs that say no golf carts allowed. Or no motorized vehicles, however. you-
No motorized vehicles, because people I have seen. people
For
taking
authorized
back
vehicles
there.
only.
No wheels, is even I suppose would be.
And that way, at least you're covered. If something does happen, it is posted, it's very visible. You saw it at any entrance, you could have come in and you chose to do it anyway.
And do we have a cost for the culverts?
Well, I was waiting to hear direction tonight, and then I will get a cost from the contractor. I wanted to know, we had a meeting this week, and that came up, so I needed to find out for sure the direction y'all were taking with golf carts. So I can give him the final plan, so.
Well, so the purpose of asking about golf carts was in terms of the strength of the culvert.
No, it had to do, there's a lot of wet spots that I would have to go back and make compacted with gravel, hit those spots so the golf cart can go end to end. If we're not making golf cart friendly, I'm doing the 2 culverts and that's it.
That's it.
So,
I see.
Yeah,
Okay.
and well, and we're talking about, you know, as far as authorized use, if it's a mower, that's, I mean, those are, I assume, bigger tires than a little golf cart, so less of an issue that we need to design around.
Yeah, and there would be one mower going down there.
Yeah. Well, once in a
Occasionally.
quarter. or
Right.
2
Right,
months or
and
something.
versus
So yeah,
7 or 8 golf carts going down
A
there.
day.
so for everyone's reference right now, at the entrance butterfly trail, which again, that's not CDD property.
Right, if it's not CDD property, we're not worried.
Right, okay.
Okay,
topic number 2, inspectors for the milling and resurfacing of the alleyways. I have tried, like we do everything else, everybody's too busy. I finally found a firm that's willing to take it on. They need to know how many days a week. Their rate will be $100 an hour, which is $800 a day. If you want them out there 2 days a week for 6 months, that's $40,000.
6 months?
That's 6 months of the project.
Mhm.
how often do you feel they're needed? I mean, at different stages, will we need them more often, or you're the expert? I don't think we can come up with a.
Well, I'm gravitating between 2 or 3 days a week. Because they are doing drainage, curb and gutter, not curb and gutter, my ribbon curb. The actual milling resurfacing process. So if I can get them on here Tuesdays and Thursdays at bare minimum. Their travel time plus the time to be here. I mean, we're talking $50,000 minimum, so
For the whole project.
for the whole project. And then things come up. You know, so there's some office time. So I may say not to exceed 50,000 for your inspector. For the 6-month duration.
Now, you had mentioned that if they're out there in the first phase, first month or 2, and they're saying everything's looking good, not a problem, we could cut back on the inspectors, still have them go out occasionally, but not have them be as. I mean, do we have to sign a contract for this long, for this much right now, or can we hire them on an ongoing basis?
The thing is, they have to plan their inspectors' usage, almost like a survey crew. So I'd have to ask them if they'd be willing to do that. Maybe it's 2 days a week for the first 3 months, and you go 1 day a week if they're doing a great job. I have complete faith in them, but when you don't have people watching,
Right.
you know, things can get careless. So, but I'll ask the company if they're willing to do 2 days a week for the first 3 months and consider 1 day a week. And get a proposal based on that.
That's a shame, there's probably somebody living in the lakes retired that could do it, you know? No, I mean, I understand. we have
No,
to-
I know.
Yeah.
I try to get local guys first, and every local firm that I respect and know, they are either tapped out and they're.
No, that's what I meant, the retirees maybe would have
Yeah.
time, you know, pop over for a couple hours and. But. I think we have to hire, sort of, or, certified people, right?
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
we wouldn't want
right,
one
right,
of our residents going over there and then getting hurt.
right. No, I just said it's too bad because there's a wealth of knowledge and experience all through Harmony, you know, for
Yeah.
so many of these things.
So you're bringing that back to April's meeting?
Well, if I can get, I need to get these guys out there like next week,
Yeah.
so if I can get,
Can we get to authorize? the
you want to give
chair
me a,
to-
an hourly not to exceed 25 to get them started. Or you can do 50 and it'll go down if they agree to 1 day a week, but.
Well, it's what, on the course of what they're doing. What's the most important stage that we want the inspector coming in? Could we start off with 1 day a week?
I think getting the project going is where you're gonna want the bulk of it, which is where we are.
Oh,
now.
they're gonna do a whole area and then pick them and do another stretch. They're not gonna do one element first for all of it. They're gonna do one stretch, start to finish.
That's not what we're seeing. They are doing the ribbon curves in a number of different areas.
Right.
not just one phase one.
Okay.
David, you sent me an email saying that's where they start before the milling starts. Remember I asked that question?
You're doing the curbing and stuff first.
Start the ribbing, curving prior to doing the milling. which are-
Yeah, I need to confirm what I said. That's true, but usually that's done at the end as well. There's two different ways of doing it, so. The fact that nobody's out there, and listen, I know the guys well enough to not, that I don't trust them, but the first week is already gone, and so. If we can agree on some numbers, I can get somebody.
What's gonna be the cost for you coming out a couple hours once a week?
It takes an hour and a half to get here. This Nicosi Road is a killer, so that's 3 hours of me sitting in my car. No, I gave up the other one, so you only get me down here.
Could I run out with a video and send it to you?
I mean, you know my rate, it just doesn't make sense for me to.
Well, yeah, I'm just trying to figure out, $100 an hour. You know. It's not that far off your point, right?
Well,
It's like,
Yeah,
but you
I'm
wouldn't be
185,
down-
and there's almost
yeah,
double,
you
so.
wouldn't be down- Need to be down here in 8 hours, but anyway, it was just the thought of having you spot check them and let them know that you're spot checking versus. 16 hours a week of plus of $100 now.
Yeah, if it was something like Junior Davis, maybe the gas line or the water line, that's not touching people's houses, that's not in people's backyard. There just needs to be a little bit more hand holding, oversights. Somebody accuses a contractor of something, they really didn't do something wrong, there's just a level of protection for everybody.
yeah. Well, we're in for so much money. Move to approve not to exceed $25,000 initially for inspector for the repaving project. Over what period of time?
Once a week. I mean, it'll last them 3 months if they do 2 days a week, and then at the end of 3 months.
And the 2 months, I mean, if. Well, do we just arbitrarily say 3 months is where we're going to decide, or can we just be, maybe if it's a 6 months project, maybe every. See if at the end of 2 months, if there's an opportunity, or if we need to maybe go another month, I don't know.
It's gonna kind of be like our contract. I mean, you get notified when we get close to running on, you get a change order, so. If the inspectors come back and said these guys are doing a great job. We'll see if we can ratchet it down. But I can't have their inspectors just on a whim, because they have to budget their time to do other inspections, so.
Okay, so we're talking $25,000.
I've made a motion.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Have a motion in a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor with the biting?
Biting the bullets.
By biting the bullet, I'm cringing at this one, but all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Pavlosha will be back for
Audrey?
board members' reports. I'm sure.
All right.
Okay. We're at district council's report. Wes, are you still with us?
Yes, I am. So there is a memo included in the agenda package. And I don't want to spend a lot of time, essentially reading the memo. It looks like it's from February, so I'm assuming the board has had an opportunity to review. And we are certainly well aware of the board's concerns with respect to attorney's fees. To the extent that I have anything to add to the memo, one, I wanted to just point out quickly that, and this topic was already addressed at the top of the meeting, but that there was an error in that one invoice that the 2% and got paid. Honestly, that was entirely a mistake, and have refunded the amounts, the higher amounts. The intent was we re-reviewed the invoice and lowered it, I think, by approximately $8,000. So just wanted to make clear that there was certainly never any intent to double bill the district for the same work. We certainly would never do that. As I mentioned, we share the same concern with respect to the fees. We realize that the district is paying a lot, and we by no means want the district to be flowing through its attorney fee line item budget. While we want to make sure that your legal issues are being handled appropriately, we want to do it as economically as possible. We know that you had prior legal counsel that you weren't fully satisfied with in reviewing your records. It looked like there were a number of issues that needed to be addressed, and there had been a number of time-consuming issues that we worked on. And looking at trends, we do think now that we're sort of getting a better handle of what's going on, and having addressed a number of issues, we believe that there will be a trend of legal fees going down. That being said, all of our invoices provide the amount of time and the description of the work that was provided. So if any board member believes that any of the time is either misbilled, in other words, work that should have been there are two matters. There's the monthly meeting matter and then general counsel matter. If something you believe should be on a different invoice, or you believe certain time was unwarranted, please let us know. We are always happy to look at those, and if we agree that there's a particular issue and we're very open to looking at it, we're happy to try and address that. So I know Mike's memo went into a lot more detail, and really our goal is to just try and get to a point where we're able to provide you the level of service that you want, and in a amount that works for your budget. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions regarding the memo or talk through any of the items.
Well, there are 6 recommendations. Is there any action we need to take to put those recommendations into play?
Those are just recommendations that might be provided to perhaps help address the issue. I think it's entirely up to the board whether you want to try and undertake any of those recommendations, and you can do that, and we can make those changes. So like I said, we believe that as we've addressed a number of the outstanding issues, there will be a trend of reduction in fees, assuming no other issues pop up and you just don't know. But to the extent the board is interested in trying any of the recommendations, we're certainly happy to work with the board to do so.
Okay, I think that an important part is to is for the board to approve any or provide direction. It needs to be board direction as far as going forward with any new policies. For example, the amenity policy, I keep looking back here and seeing a lot of time was spent working on that, but I don't recall us ever being at the point where we asked for a new amenity policy to be prepared. So I think that's going to be an important part of it. There are going to be legal matters that come up that you're going to have to advise us on, that we're not going to know that we need to direct you to do that. That's a given. But in those items, sometimes we're talking as a board about something that we're concerned with, and maybe wrongly sending a signal for you guys to jump on it and do it when we're not quite there yet. So we need to be sensitive to that. All right.
Understood. For any particular item that's gonna exceed, an amount of time, get direction either from your manager, from the chair. Like you said, issues that come up where you're gonna call us, where, there are a number of phone conversations, emails, et cetera, that we're sending, where it would not be efficient to seek direction every time. But before we would invest more than an hour on a particular item or something along those lines, if you want to give us direction, like I said, we are flexible and wanting to accommodate the district.
Okay, thank you. Any other board members have any?
Well, the
concerns?
first recommendation is that the district should put the burden on existing maintenance contractors to submit work authorizations in the form required by the district for legal counsel review, rather than district counsel preparing the work authorizations from scratch.
We already have it. That's already being done.
Okay. And then there's recommendation number 5, talking about some kind of hybrid fee structure, a flat fee for meetings for months when meeting attendance by phone can be considered. Parties may want to consider a hybrid flat fee of $5,000 for months when attendance is in person, and a hybrid fee of $3,500 when attendance is by phone.
All right.
And, I don't really have a strong recommendation on that. As I said, it may make sense to continue to see if, in light of, not to sound like a broker, but in light of us sort of getting our hands on things, and working through a lot of the issues that were sort of just not being addressed by prior council, and working through that, and with the hope that there would be a reduction. Maybe it makes sense to continue to see how the trend goes before making any type of change, but it will persuade you one way or the other.
Okay, at this time, does anybody have any ideas that they would like to move forward on, or with the explanation, would you like the next month to mull it over and see if we can come up with another plan?
You can also read through that and send me whatever your recommendations are, and I can kind of compile them all together. And I can go over everybody's input with the chair, and then either put them all together in the next meeting, and then you can present to council, if that makes it easier, if no one has anything at this very moment.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not,
The 6 included in our memo, certainly, we're up both for hearing other alternatives.
Okay.
All right, any further discussion on this item?
No.
Anything else that you had for us, Wes?
Just by way of quick update, I know there were 2 public record issues that Mike was looking into. One from your prior council. It's Mike's understanding that it's his position that he's provided all records, that those records were are in the, are presently being reviewed. So to the extent that they're, after they're reviewed, if they haven't been reviewed yet, if there's any concern that all the records weren't provided, and you believe you want further action on our part, please let us know. Likewise, your prior board member, Supervisor Ruby, stated that he had no records, or deleted, records. So there's nothing he'll be providing at this time. If there's any further action you want us to take with respect to his records, please let us know. But otherwise, we don't intend on taking any further action on either of those. And Teresa, I think I heard you mention by way of update on the easements from the prior developer. We were able to confirm that they had not been assigned, and based on our working relationships, get those released. So I think that sounded like good news, and happy to answer any questions.
Okay, as far as public records, yeah, we just need to drop that. Those two entities are causing us to spin our wheels, and much of the billing looks like they were involving that. So at this time, unless I hear any objections to that, we will just say, hey, we're finished with that.
Just a question though, we did request that the county provide records. Do we have those records?
Yes, we did get those. I'll send them out to the entire board. It was a handful of things that they had to and from Mr. Supervisor Ruby. And I have those.
Yeah, it was pretty limited.
Yeah, it's not very much at all. And it all centers around like the PUD and yeah, a couple other things, the RV lot. Same stuff we already unearthed here, but then that version back way back then.
Okay, thank you, Wes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Wes.
District managers report.
So my report's in there quickly. Obviously, you see everything in here. Harmony Retail, the Ruby lawsuit settled for $1,000. Code enforcement violation, already went over that. Gave you the dates, April and May. An inspection will be done in April, even if we don't have anything done, it'll be okay. But he'll be out again in May. They did grant the May 10th extension. The field office move, that public records for Steve Ruby, that's in here. Cervello's final invoice, met with Cervello representatives on 3/21, Brett and myself, with the owner, James Whitaker and Scotty. We met with them. It ended fine. We ended on $10,000 of withholding from their final invoice. Council drew up a release. Your chairman signed it, basically stating we've settled on this amount. You can't come back to us after this. It's done. So we have that fully executed release in our records. The turnover of the enclaves at the lakes, waiting on Sunterra to complete and provide documentation, and they're going to schedule another walkthrough. The delay's been on them.
But we did approve paying the bill, even though we haven't accepted the enclaves from Sunterra, from Harmony for Our Land. Yes. Was it on the bill?
The electric.
Oh, the electric bill. Yes, that is, the electric is for the street lights. It wasn't for, it's not for the irrigation. Yeah, that was Sean got it turned over.
Right.
Joint track
but
K.
Typically, we don't pay those until the formal turnover process, but I think there was a slip through the crack.
And
Mistake.
yes, and because, and she's actually Trina, I believe is her name, who is working with them. She just sent me another one she wants turned over into the district as well. On the one track K that you're talking about, we did get proof that they had paid their substantial amount up to date. They sent us a copy of the check verified, and then yes, those were turned over into the district's name. I don't know the track off the top of my head that she's trying to work through now, but I haven't done anything with those.
Oh, you're talking about something different.
Yeah.
You're talking about the actual, they've got to pay for the capital cost of the street lights.
Correct.
We're talking about the electricity that ran.
It's $537 or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yes.
So I don't know if we want to go back and get them to refund that to us, or if we just since we're gonna be picking up the payments in the future, it's strictly.
I don't know legally if we,
Yeah, I'll have to look into it.
yeah,
Okay.
well, and
Put it to you to look into it.
It's fine.
Because legally, technically, we don't start paying that electric bill until after it's been turned over. Is my understanding.
that's my understanding too.
So we'll leave it in your hands.
I thought
Yeah.
maybe it had been turned over.
That's
why
what
I.
That's why I asked. I don't remember accepting that as the board, so that's why I was questioning.
Yeah, I believe they provided, anyways, I'll send it out.
Okay,
And then we're working on another track currently right now.
right, they are on the.
Angela, they're also supposed to provide as-built drawings when they're done.
Yes. Yes.
Okay,
That's it.
any other questions of our district manager? A quick update we received from the school board. They have determined that with the growth in charter schools and some of the legislation moving through the state house, that they expect to not have as major of an increase in growth at the schools they thought they were going to have, and the portable installation is on hold for the time being. So her email and everything is in your package to let you know that. Okay, the next item on the agenda is supervisor's request.
Yes. Okay, so obviously everyone's had their input and all that on the RV lot. It was mentioned in the letters from the county that you know, for everyone's, you know, edification, you know, the main issue was that road and the compaction requirements for the road. Our engineer did analysis. We know it would be a very large expense to, you know, build up that road to the extent that would satisfy the county, you know, fire department's requirements, and they've never budged on that. That has always been the requirement that we need to meet those requirements. Now, that said, there was the issue brought up that what was in the PD amendment was you know, had certain requirements for paving and fencing for the lot itself. Now, we closed the lot, but we still retained ownership, and there's, you know, a possibility that given a better solution for accessing the lot, that we might be able to use that in the future. So I would just like to, knowing it's a lengthy process, just, you know, whether it needs to be discussed and voted on next month, if we can look at some additional PD amendments as were suggested by the county to make the actual lot itself not as big of an expense, pending in the future we're able to find a more economical way to access it. So this is, you know, obviously it's not something we need to, you know, spend a lot of money on right now, but since it can be a lengthy process, I'd just like to at least consider doing a PD amendment to maybe not need the full perimeter fencing, since again, it's
Our current PD, if you read all the way through it, which I'm not understanding, well, I do understand, but Kim Brown evidently wasn't familiar with it. It does not require full perimeter fencing, it just requires a 10-foot fence on the south and southwest portions, which is the smaller portions.
okay.
The area that is vegetated all the way around. However, we had put in the number for the fencing because of security and our standards and the insurance requirements. We did have a situation where thieves were coming in back from that feather grass area through there. So the full fencing, again, we wouldn't need to do a PD amendment for the surface of the lot. Again, PD amendments are not a lengthy, especially a minor PD amendment. It's not a lengthy process.
Okay.
We can get it done in just a couple of months if you stay with it. And because things change over the years, it's probably better to wait until we actually have
Some kind of runway.
different access route
Okay.
proposed before we, minor PD amendment. The last time, which was in 2019, we used RJ Whitten. And it was with a fee, his fee, that company's fee and the application fee and everything, it was over $5,000 at that.
Okay, so
I did talk to David regarding that. I think, what did we talk about? The fee to do a minor PD amendment?
But there were still two unresolved issues. Their request to include the multi-use trail that was part of the Region B, where the bed rocks. You know, reading through Greg's summary, the different points, whether or not they still feel they want a paved road or a wider road. The wider road would be an issue because of Florida gas transmission. So I know everybody in this room keeps getting different numbers and different directions from different people, but really need to sit down with the entire DRC or TRC committee and flush all this out before we continue. We're getting different directions from Dan's hearing and some of the gentlemen.
Yeah, there's a lot of inaccurate information going around, and I think even to answer Dan's question, my point was, if he's wanting this on a future agenda for future uses of that lot, we'll just call it, because we're closed, the RV lot was closed as of the 31st. So to do a minor PD to you for future use of that, I mean, that in itself cost, when we talked about. Right. So that alone, to be able to even start that process. And I can tell you right now, today, you don't have that money in your budget.
Yeah, so.
Hey, this is Fred Meek. I'd love to speak on this topic.
We're not at audience comments at the moment.
For those that are out there, some people indicated that the fence was a big cost, but it's not. The roadway is a big cost. It seems stable now, but we did not put nearly the amount of gravel nor do the improvements that would be required. That cost of that was bid out previously, and it's anywhere from $230,000 to $245,000. That is just for the road. And again, the numbers we have on the improvements were not for the whole lot. That we hadn't even started the engineering of the layout of the lot itself. So again, there's an enormous expense to this lot. And that's where we are. Unfortunately, it's expensive unless we have another access. Okay, any further questions from the board or?
I have a request.
Yes.
You were done.
Yeah.
So last meeting, I brought up the offer of the developer to give us some land. I met with him last Friday. He gave me several maps. There are a number of areas he is offering us. He seems to feel that we may not be so required to manage invasive plant material on those properties. So I would like some, I need to find out who I need to talk to about whether that's the case or not. His impression is that maybe we are being talked into or would be talked into some additional invasive management on properties that apparently South Florida Water Management District is not requiring him to maintain.
Well, again, what we need to see is if you can provide those maps, and then we can go over those, the conservation areas, if those are what he wants to turn over, then they would fall under the same requirements as have been the conservation areas here. If he's turning over lands that are not designated as conservation areas by RPD and the Water Management District, then we would not be under the Water Management District's requirements.
Can we get a link to whatever documentation there is that requires us to maintain the to manage the those wetlands?
Sure, I can send you all the enforcement letters and everything, but we've got all those.
Right, but I also would like to see what documentation obligates us.
I believe, and I agree with that. I like to see that as well. I believe it's specific to them being conservation.
Right.
Deeded that.
They're basically what happens when you go, when the Harmony developers came in is they said, we want to impact X number of the wetlands. And they want to fill them in and use them for development. And in order to do that, they had to set aside Y numbers of acres and ensure the proper management of those areas. And one of the requirements in that management is that it has to be kept 90% free of invasive species. But yeah, I mean, it's right in the documents, the permits for the
Right.
water management.
And I'd like that to be on the website so
I
that we
think
can
we should.
show residents.
Well, yeah,
This is not just some whim that the board
not at
is
all.
spending $194,000 plus to manage invasives. And in regard to, and I have paper copies, I'll scan them in and I'll send them
That
to
would,
Angel to be included in the next meeting agenda. Yeah.
that would be.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And I just have a request for field services about attending to the dog parks. There's holes in the dog, the people dig holes. And dogs dig holes and they need to be filled. No, I mean, I have reached out a number of times about the dog parks,
Okay.
but they
And
need
guys
to
to
be
get on the dog parks.
once a week, like there's a bunch of rubber mulch in the big dog park that gets all up against the fencing and it needs to be around the base of the tree where the roots are sticking up. So help prevent erosion around those roots. There's the shed that's there that has agility equipment in it. The doors are coming off. I think there's the window
We looked at all that today and
skylights.
took pictures. Brad has all that.
Yeah, but it just needs to be and the gates, people just let the gates slam so they get out of kilter and then it's really hard to shut them. Just needs to be looked at every week. Just send somebody over there for half an hour to make sure everything is like it should be.
Any other supervisors?
I just, we mentioned it earlier, just to have it on your summary that if you need to have me pick one out, but we can get a screen or something for, there's maybe about a period of an hour during each meeting that the sun just right in our faces
The
here.
board approving that?
Well, the cost is gonna be, I mean, it's gonna be
It's-
$100 or less.
Falling well under.
I'm just saying, can someone remember to do it? So next meeting, we're not trying to tie.
Curtains up, yes. that's
And
fine.
having people stand with folders.
There'll be a fee though. There'll be.
Okay.
Okay.
I'd be happy to
anything
set that
further?
up with setting everything else. I mean, so.
Okay.
Field services.
Hearing nothing else, I would entertain a motion.
Move to adjourn
Seconded.
All in
at
favor?
8:32 PM. Aye.
Thank you.
Pass unanimous.
Thanks, Miss. You too.
We'd have nobody here either.
Probably, or wait.
We would need to serve coffee.
I only get up that early in the morning if I'm leaving on a cruise.
Oh, I see. So we can lie to you. I'm telling you, you are